Watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dewbs and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
How have we got here? The 30th of August. This is the weekend on GB News. Now, your main stories this hour. A fresh wave of protests is expected this weekend after judges overturned the High Court's order to clear asylum seekers from Epping's Bell Hotel. We'll bring you the latest on that as it develops, and we are going live to a hotel in Milton Keynes where we believe there is a fairly frisky protest about to kick off this afternoon. And meanwhile, the Conservatives want to launch an investigation into, yes, Angela Rayner over claims she dodged £40,000 in stamp duty on a second home. Is Labour at the very least guilty of hypocrisy? And as Essex council staff, wait for this one, are offered support if they feel unsettled by St George's flags being put up, we're asking, are we the only nation afraid of our own flag? Meanwhile, over the pond, a US court rules Donald Trump's global tariffs were illegal. Could this blow up his foreign policy agenda and trigger a Supreme Court showdown? But we're also asking, where is he, as is most of America? And a bombshell new book claims the late Queen privately opposed Brexit. But should the political views of one of Britain's most respected monarchs be dragged into public debate? And talking of royals, we're also discussing the so-called princess treatment, where women expect gifts and dinners while men foot the bill. But in today's society, should men still be paying? I'm Princess Dawn Neeson, and the weekend starts right here and now. So hello and thank you so much for your company on the weekend. I hope you're having a lovely one out there. It's been a busy old week, hasn't it? I can't believe what we're doing. And so we've got so much to get through. It really is going to be absolutely packed. And as usual, this show is all about you and your views. So let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today. Very simple to get involved. It's gbnews.com/yoursay and join in the conversation. And I promise faithfully, read as many out as I possibly can. But first, we'll get the news headlines with the lovely Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom at 12:02. Several councils are considering legal action to try and stop hotels being used to house asylum seekers. It's after the Court of Appeal overturned an injunction that would have prevented nearly 140 migrants remaining at the Bell Hotel in Epping. The decision has reignited anger among local residents, and protests were held there last night, which saw 3 people arrested. Former Home Office Minister Tom Pursglove says the progress of the Conservative Party has been undone.
They've truly lost the public on this, and this is a terrible situation to be in, and I find this particularly frustrating because I was the minister, along with James Cleverly, that presided over closing the Bell Hotel in Epping, and what this government has done is squandered all the progress that we made. We'd managed to close 188 hotels, we'd pivoted towards larger sites, we'd got a deterrent in place that needed to happen, of course, we needed to get flights off the ground, but things were moving in the right direction, and they've really squandered all of that.
The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister's tax affairs. The Telegraph is reporting Angela Rayner saved £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her seaside flat in East Sussex by telling tax authorities it was her main home. But it's also understood she told Thameside Council her constituency house in Greater Manchester remains her primary residence for council tax purposes. Although the changes are entirely legal, the Conservative Party chairman, Kevin Hollinrake, has written to the Independent Standards Advisor claiming inappropriate tax avoidance. A US Court of Appeal has ruled that most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal. It says the president was not legally allowed to declare national emergencies and impose taxes on almost every country. Tariffs have been a pillar of Mr. Trump's second term in office, but they have increased volatility in financial markets. The court is allowing the tariffs to remain in place until mid-October to give the Trump administration a chance to appeal to the Supreme Court. At least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack. Russia launched more than 500 drones and dozens of missiles overnight that hit residential and retail areas in the Zaporizhzhia region. Volodymyr Zelensky says it's clear Russia is disregarding diplomacy and is calling on real action from the US and Europe to end the war. The Palestinian president and 80 other officials have had their US visas revoked. It means they can no longer attend the United Nations Assembly meeting in New York next month. Several US allies, including France, Malta and Australia, have announced plans to recognise Palestine as a state at the meeting. The State Department claims it's acting in the interests of national security. And Gordon Ramsay has revealed he's undergone treatment to remove skin cancer from the side of his face. The TV chef was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, a non-melanoma form of skin cancer. In a post on Instagram, he thanked his medical team for what he said was their fast, reactive work. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany, and thank you for your company. Remember, if you are going out and about, if it's nice weather where you are and you're popping out into the garden, we're on the radio. If you're driving in the car, we're on the radio. And if you've only got a phone or a laptop in front of you, you can get us on there as well. There is literally no escape. So don't even try. Let's get straight into today's story, shall we? Because we've got huge amounts to get through. The government has won its appeal to keep almost 140 migrants at the Bell Hotel in Epping. A win for the Home Office, but branded an injustice by local residents. Senior judges overturned an earlier order to move the men out by mid-September, saying the first ruling was seriously flawed.
Therefore, we grant permission to appeal both to Somani and to the Home Secretary against the grant of the interim injunction. We allow the appeals and we set aside the injunction imposed on 19 August 2025.
Well, that was live yesterday, live from the courtroom, and it was pretty damning, to be honest with you, on Epping County Council and the previous judge involved in the interim judgment. But the decision has reignited anger, as it would in Epping and indeed across the country. More protests are expected around the UK this weekend. Now, joining me now is GB News national reporter Jack Carson, who I believe is in Milton Keynes, where there is a protest organised for this afternoon. Jack, what's going on there?
Yeah, well, protests here well underway. We've got both sides. Just come with me a second. So this is the stand up to racism, the counter protest of the protest that's happening here. We've got flags of Unison, the National Education Union, Unite, big banner at the front saying refugees are welcome here. I stand for human rights. Asylum seekers are welcome. Plenty of signs from Stand Up to Racism saying stop Racist Reform UK. And round here, if we switch, you can see the Union flags, the St George's flags, all of the people here protesting the Migrant Hotel. This is the MK Hotel in Milton Keynes. That is what they are protesting. Now let's speak to the organiser of the protest here today, Connor Sadler. Thanks so much for joining us and speaking to us. Why have you wanted to come and protest today?
Yeah, so no problem. We're here today because we're not here because of their skin colour. We're not here because of race. We're not here because of what they look like. We're here because this country has a serious issue at the moment, and we have to pay for these people, and we're fed up of paying for these people that have come here and they get everything for free. They get healthcare for free, dental care for free, free phones, phone contracts, contact lenses, glasses, absolutely everything they get for free, and we've had enough of it. We're a fed up nation, we're a fed up people, and again, there's people over there shouting racist, far right. There's no far right, there's no hooligans here, there's no racism here, it's nothing to do with skin colour. But we're here as well because, in particular, this hotel, one of them's been jailed for robbery. There was reports, I have to say reports, otherwise I get locked up, of these migrants taking photos of primary school children, and bear in mind there's a primary school just a 5-minute walk down the road, and there's a primary school 5 minutes walk down the road, and they were taking photos of primary school children, reports. Also with that, there's just over there on the other side behind them lot, there is a petrol station. They've smashed that up, they've set fire extinguishers off in there, so it's not just that we're here because of what they look like, it's because of what they've done, and we don't want to pay for them no more.
Well, we apologise obviously for the language that people may have heard in the background from people chanting, both sides seemingly getting obviously quite intense here at these protests. What would you say to Home Office Minister Dame Angela Eagle, who said after the Epping result yesterday that they want to close all of the hotels by the end of the next Parliament, by the time of the next Parliament, they want to do this in an orderly fashion. Is that not good enough, trying to close them in the next few years? Is there a reason why you want these closed sooner rather than later?
Yeah, no. When they say they're going to close them, they're going to close the hotels, but where are they going to put them? They're going to put them in houses, social housing, flats, HMOs, all around us, and we do not want that. It's not that we hate them, it's just it's the government. It's the government that have put us in this situation, and if they're going to close the hotels, I ask the question, where are they going to put them? Because if we don't want them, and if they want to accept them, I'll actually say, let's call a referendum tomorrow, and anyone who votes for the refugees or asylum seekers to stay here, anyone on the left should have their tax raised to 70% minimum and should free up a space in their house. If they want them here, they can pay for them and make the space for them. And anyone on the right doesn't pay anything and doesn't make any space for them.
So the comments and the plans of people like Nigel Farage and the Reform UK leader of kind of processing centres and areas where they don't go, so they're not in hotels. Would that not just cause another issue for the community where those processing areas are? That community where those processing areas are would also be maybe upset that that's where they're being processed. What for you is the way around this?
Yeah, so I do agree. It's just going to cause more issues. The more we spread them about over one Operation Scar and spread them in between communities, it's just going to cause even more issues. But what I would say, and I think the solution for all of this is just deport them. I personally think just deport them, unless if they are actually fleeing war, like women and children of Ukraine are. Then we can't send them back to a war zone. But these countries, at the top of the list, they're not coming from war zones. And actually, at the top of the list, a lot of these people are coming from countries that commit more crime and more sexual crime than British people. And that's fact. If you look per capita, per 10,000, per 100,000, these people commit more sexual crimes than we do. And that's not what we want. We have our own issues in our country with our own people that are own British people that are committing these heinous crimes as well. I do agree, yes, but why import more people that commit it more of a higher rate? For example, Afghans that commit it 22 times higher of a sexual crime than British people. We don't want that in our communities, and we don't want it spread across in places. So, like you say, with Nigel Farage saying he's going to shut the hotels, but where are we going to put them?
Conor Sadler from the protest here at the hotel. Thank you so much for joining us and, of course, giving us those views of that protest. We'll try and speak to the other side a little bit later on as well. You can see they're here in numbers as well, say with their banner there, refugees welcome, we wish you well. Plenty of people here gathering in Milton Keynes. As I mentioned, we're just by a service station. This is the hotel, the MK Hotel, where they've been housed for some time now. Plenty of people here, of course, you know, with very strong views that they're having heard today at this protest.
Jack, is there much of a police presence there?
Let's show you a bit of the police presence. So we've got one officer over there with a camera. We've got a couple of police vans here as well. You can see actually in front of the counter protesters here to the protest a wall of police officers as well. So there's plenty of police that are here to, of course, make sure everyone here is safe and actually to make sure that people can properly protest safely. That's the main aim of the police here, to make sure that both sides can have their voices heard and protest as their right is.
OK, Jack, and finally, when you do go to talk to the anti-racist protesters on the other side, could you just ask them how many of them are actually currently or willing to do so in the future housing the migrants they say are welcome? Be very interested to hear their replies.
Yeah, well, it's a fair question. It's a fair question, Dawn, because as you heard from Conor said, he is concerned about if they're not in hotels, where are they going to be? So it's a position that both sides probably, you know, are unsure where it's possible to put the people. Of course, the government mentioned in that case in their arguments against the temporary injunction at Epping, and one of the parts of the ruling, of course, was that if they are not to be housed in the Epping hotel, there would have to be space in the system found somewhere else. So it's a concern, as we can see from this protest here now in Milton Keynes. There's protests across the rest of the country. There's lots of different areas that are concerned about if they're not going to be housed there, where are they going to be housed? And also we do know that off the back of the Epping decision, even though that temporary injunction was overruled, and we of course await the court hearing in October, there are 13 councils, it's reported, still considering to bring legal action to remove asylum seekers from their local authorities, and some of them, we have heard, include to be Labour-run authorities as well. So this issue, Dawn, is not going away. OK,
Jack, thank you very much. We'll be coming back to you throughout the programme to see how that is developing. That's our GB News national reporter Jack Carson in Milton Keynes for us at the latest protest. OK, now the other big story of the week, and one you can't avoid, is, yes, it is Angela Rayner. The Conservative Party are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister after she's been accused of avoiding £40,000 in stamp duty when buying a second home. Angela Rayner is said to have told tax authorities that a £800,000 seaside apartment in East Sussex, the last one she's brought, was her main place of residence to avoid paying extra tax. Now, let's just stress, she has done nothing wrong, OK? She has done nothing illegal, and this is something many, many people would do if they could. However, she is also the housing minister. She's in charge in making decisions on everything you pay to do with stamp duty and council tax, etc., etc. So, at the very least, there might be some hypocrisy involved here. So, joining me now is political commentator, my favourite commentator, actually, because I just love his hair, to be honest with you. It's Benedict Spence. Benedict.
You say that to all the commentators.
Funny enough, I don't know. I don't say it to a lot of them because I haven't got fringes like you.
Not a lot of them, but there are others.
If you've missed Benedict and I interacting on fringes, right, he always slightly takes the mickey out of my hair. Is always in my eyes, which it is. It's true. Any case, we are here to talk about Angela Rayner, who does have lovely hair, to be fair. But the hypocrisy around what she is doing, at the very least, is worth discussing.
As you say, nothing illegal, no suggestion of anything illegal. It's a question of ethics. And I think, on the one hand, I think that one has to sort of sit back and say, Angela Rayner has been in similar situations to this before, when it's questions about what is her primary address. You know, again, no allegations of wrongdoing, just a sort of a raised eyebrow and a sort of a, should you really be behaving like that? Should you not, in fact, have have your arrangements all above board? Should you not be setting an example as the housing minister, as the deputy prime minister? Now, a lot of other people would, I think, perhaps justifiably say, look, her business dealings are her own. She can do what she wants with her own money. Fine. The problem is, of course, as you say, right now we are facing a bit of a housing crisis in this country. Shall we say that a bit conservatively? It's a small one.
Yeah.
The market may or may not have died, and that may or may not be partly the fault of her government. It doesn't help either, I think, for the housing minister and deputy prime minister to be seen finding, albeit a legal way, to avoid paying £40,000 in stamp duty when her own government, when the Chancellor is drip-feeding stories to the press about potential changes to laws around tax coming up in the budget, one of which just happens to be how much people pay on, for instance, capital gains, inheritance on properties. That really does seem to be a focal point of this. It seems that they are very keen to get as much money as they can out of homeowners. That's not going to sit very well with people. And, you know, even people who would say, look, fair enough, you can do what you want, would be sat there going, also, this is a really inopportune moment to have done this.
Do you think, at the very least, she should step away from making any decisions now on the tax around the housing situation? As you say, the stamp duty is up for discussion. Even a new tax about when you sell your property, how much tax you may now have to pay on that. And people renting properties out, are they going to have to pay some sort of national insurance tax on the rental income?
Yeah.
All of these things. Should she at least take herself out of that equation?
I think what I would say is it's justified for people to have a very good long look at her record as housing minister, partly because actually when Labour came in, they did say that this was going to be one of their things that they needed to do, was sort of get Britain building again. Has it really happened? Not as far as I can see. The housing market is much worse than when she came in. So yes, I think she should probably be separating herself from that decision-making process, whatever she may or may not have to do. But I think there is a lot of scrutiny to be had on her, but there's actually plenty of scrutiny to be had on Labour MPs in general. Rather, a lot of them are landlords. And it would be curious to know what kind of an input, actually, a lot of the backbenchers are having, for instance, given that we've already seen this government already have to shelve plans to make, you know, what were pretty robust changes to personal independence payments, to the benefit system, effectively, because a lot of backbench MPs rebelled. Could we potentially see a similar situation with a good number of Labour MPs being landlords if there are major changes made to those rules? It's something worth thinking about, I think.
It is a very interesting situation. But there is, I mean, she also said, when was this? Back in July 2024, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
We're in the middle, as you alluded to, we're in the middle of one of the most acute housing crises in living memory. Home ownership is out of reach for too many. The shortage of houses drive high rents, and too many are left without access to a safe and secure home. It was only in July.
Yeah.
So what's changed?
It's, as I say, the optics of all of this are very poor. Labour having given it the whole spiel about being the grown-ups that they were going to sort out all of these problems. It's just, it's not even that things haven't got better. They are getting demonstrably worse and faster than they were under the Conservatives. And that's not to give the Conservatives a pass at all. But it's almost like things are being sped-run now under Labour. And again, I think people are looking towards the upcoming budget with a great deal of trepidation. And, you know, if Labour had got one thing sort of visibly under control, be it housing, be it migration, be it energy prices, if they'd got something, people might be able to go, all right, well, you know, it's tricky, but we're getting there. But it's the fact that all of these things
They would say, in Labour's defence,
of course.
she said, they would say that they have got waiting lists down in the NHS.
But, OK, put it this way. If your waiting lists sort of go up to months and months and months, and you get them down by a couple of weeks, it's not really what I think people would call a major success. You are making some progress, but you haven't fixed the problem. And, of course, they've come down, but we are heading now towards winter when they will inevitably go up again, because that's what happens.
And there might be a bit of people dying and being removed from the waiting list in any case, where that helps get them down as well, doesn't it? But that's not the most optimistic thing. However, one party that is doing well, but obviously it's easy when you're in opposition, is Reform and Nigel Farage. Again, the latest poll has them riding high.
Yeah. I mean, I know whenever I say what I actually think about reform, lots of people get very upset with me because people think that reform are the best thing since sliced bread. They're doing very well, but let's be very clear here. This polling will have been done actually before Nigel Farage made his sort of latest announcement on migration.
Yes.
So you can't even factor that in. You know, for all we know, it could actually see his polling go down. People might be very unhappy with it. Probably not, but you know, you never know. The thing with reform is they are not some radical party with a brilliant ideological set of programmes. They are sort of making it up slightly on the hoof, but they just have to sort of sit there and not be Labour and not be the Conservatives. They are the embodiment of the none of the above option on a ballot box. They are the protest vote, but now they have a name. Now, people might like Nigel Farage personally, they might like other members of the party personally, but you know, we should temper our expectations. As things currently stand, they have almost the same polling as Labour and the Tories, but let's also be clear, there's every chance both of those parties change their leaders before the next general election. And as we get closer to an election, there will be more scrutiny on, OK, what's your policy on X, Y, Z? We understand what you think about migration. You've spoken about it a lot. Can you give us some other options? And given reform's support comes from both the left and the right, that's where you'll start to see wedges and people going, oh, maybe I'm not quite so sure. Particularly left-wing people might look at very free market ideas on economics and think, maybe not. And again, people on the right might look at plans potentially to nationalise things and go, it's not maybe for me. We don't yet know what direction reform will go in. I suspect reform isn't quite sure yet what direction it's going to go in. It was only a year ago that Farage was ruling out the possibility of mass deportations, and here we are and he's saying mass deportations.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to clarify, they are a 15-point lead over Labour. This is to a exclusive polling for the newspaper, with just 20% of voters now saying they would vote Labour, compared to 35% for reform. Benedict Spence, thank you very much. Always a joy to talk to you. OK, now we have a spokesman for Angela Rayner, spokesperson, I guess we should say. The Deputy Prime Minister paid the correct duty owed on the purchase of her apartment, her flat, entirely properly and in line with all relevant requirements. Any suggestion otherwise is entirely without basis. OK, indeed. She has done nothing illegal, we are stressing that, but it is a bit, maybe a bit gamey when you're thinking she's in charge of how much you pay when you buy and sell your properties, if you're lucky enough to have one in the first place. And because it's time for our Great British Giveaway. This might help you out, by the way. It's our biggest prize to date, worth over £104,000. And you could win a 4-berth motorhome worth over £74,000, plus a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all these amazing details. Have a listen to this.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British Giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m. OK, at 7:32, tributes are flooding in for the Apollo 13 commander, Jim Lovell, who has died aged 97.
97, wow. He guided the failed space mission back to Earth after that attempt to land on the moon was aborted following an oxygen tank explosion.
Tom Hanks, the movie star who played him, honoured the legendary astronaut in an emotional tribute, calling him a true visionary. I think they really got to know each other well during the making of that movie. That's 30 years after he played Lovell in the 1995 film Apollo 13.
And the Apollo 13 movie was very accurate because Lovell was working on the Apollo 13 movie to ensure there was accuracy. There was a few bits of movie license to make it a little bit more dramatic here and there, but it was a very accurate depiction, and it showed Lovell in the wonderful light of who he was.
And they gave him a little cameo at the end, didn't they? He actually played a part. He played the commander of the ship, the naval ship,
that's right,
that picked up the astronauts.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realise that. He was actually in the Apollo 13 movie. And Tom Hanks and Lovell spent a lot of time together so that Tom could act the role in as accurate a way as possible. He picked up a lot of his mannerisms to make sure it was accurate. But it must have been wonderful for Jim to actually be on the movie itself. We're just sort of scratching the surface of our spacefaring nature. We've been to the moon, although there's been a bit of a hiatus of going to the moon, but we've got the Artemis projects coming up in the next sort of 5-10 years, where we hope to get people back on the moon again. And, let's not forget, this is all relatively new technology.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. I know how busy weekends are, so I really appreciate it. OK, let's go and talk America, shall we? A US appeals court has ruled that most of the tariffs imposed by President Trump are unlawful. In a 7-4 decision, the court dismissed his claim that the tariffs were necessary under emergency economic powers, declaring them invalid as contrary to law. So could this lead to a major legal battle that may disrupt Trump's foreign policy plans completely? There's also a question, a more intriguing question in my mind, about where Donald Trump is. He hasn't been seen for a couple of days, evidently. OK, so explaining all of this is the wonderful US political journalist and economist Laurie Laird. Laurie, start, OK. Hi, good to see you. Start in baby steps. Bearing in mind I'm not American, I'm quite thick and it's a Saturday lunchtime. What is happening with the tariffs?
Well, let's go back to, could we start with, we haven't seen Donald Trump. I can't answer that question, but I am as intrigued as you are.
Oh, it's quite fun, isn't it?
Honestly, this is the man who, has never seen a camera he doesn't like. He has posted on Truth Social saying that this ruling that you just referred to really is invalid, that the courts are biased, and that these tariffs do remain in effect. But back to your earlier question, what does this mean? The court has said, now this is an appeal of an earlier ruling, the government appealed, and basically the court is saying that Donald Trump does not have the ability to use emergency powers because many of these tariffs were imposed saying that the U.S. economy is in an emergency situation. This court has said that Donald Trump does not have the power to unilaterally declare an economic emergency and therefore impose these tariffs. They're saying that Congress needs to be a part of this.
Right, OK. Is he going to take any notice?
It's an interesting question. He posted on Truth Social, his own social media outlet, just minutes after this ruling. Don't worry, the court is biased. The tariffs remain in place, and the court did give until the 14th of October for any remedies to be in place. There are two options that the government has. One is to go back to a lower court, a specialist trade court, which already has ruled that the tariffs were unlawful, or the government can go the other way and appeal to the Supreme Court, which I think is the more likely option.
Right, OK. And this could all take time. This is not obviously... I mean, courts, as we know, they move glacially slow. This is not all going to happen overnight, is it?
And this is the big question. And I don't have a sense of what the Supreme Court docket looks like, whether they will be able to rule on this prior to the 14th of October. Now, many rulings have surprised people. This Supreme Court, three of justices were appointed by Donald Trump, and many rulings have come down in his favor. So if the court acts as it has over the past year or so, you have every reason to suspect that they will see this case, they will hear this case before the 14th of October. But as of yet, we don't have a sense of timing. If they don't take this up before the 14th of October, we have a real mess on our hands. Are these tariffs valid? And if these tariffs are deemed to be unlawful, is there a recourse? Does the government have to refund companies that have paid these tariffs?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it? I mean, because obviously, you know, the United Kingdom is subject to tariffs as well. So does that mean retrospectively, I mean, if it is deemed illegal, we could, you know, go back to Donald Trump and go, well, hold on a minute, we want some of this money back?
Well, but keep in mind that tariffs are paid by the company that is importing. So there wouldn't be money necessarily going to the UK. But so if you're a car company and you're importing steel to make those cars, it's that importer in the U.S. who is paying that tariff. So any refunds, if that is deemed necessary, would go to the importer, the company on U.S. soil, rather than a foreign government.
Right, of course, yeah. No, thank you for explaining. I told you I was sick. It's a Saturday lunchtime. Come on, Laurie.
No, but John, this is a really interesting point that you're making, because this government has somehow allowed this myth to take hold that somehow it's China. It's foreign companies, foreign governments that are paying these tariffs. But in fact, it's these importing companies in the U.S. Often they pass these tariffs on to higher prices for consumers. We're not seeing that happen at the moment, but most economists believe that ultimately it will be U.S. consumers who pay that extra cost.
And what effect is this having on Donald Trump's popularity at the moment?
Difficult to say. Donald Trump says he's immensely popular. Polls are a little bit mixed. He remains extremely popular with his base. But I suspect that this could be a problem for Donald Trump. Inflation is higher than the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve is quite contentious at the moment as well, the central bank. But the inflation is higher than it has been. It's running at close to 3% on an annual basis. And what I'm noticing when you look at some of the inflation numbers is prices are rising for things that people buy all the time. Things like coffee, fresh fruit and vegetables. Prices of fresh vegetables rose in the month of July by 34% over the month of June. That is a massive increase. So these are things that people buy week in and week out, and they will notice the price of these things increasing. It's not like buying a television, right? You buy a new TV every couple of years. So you don't realize that increase in price isn't as vivid. But vegetables, coffee, fresh melon is rising in price. Minced beef. All of these things that people buy day in and day out are increasing. And I think this is something that American consumers are noticing and will begin to notice, or will continue to notice.
Laurie, just finally, the fact that Donald Trump has been quiet for a couple of days, I mean, the man has hit the ground running. He has worked incredibly hard. He is entitled to a couple of days off playing golf, isn't he? What is the big conspiracy theory here?
Interesting. I don't know. You know, there's always sort of speculation about his health. And certainly when, this is personal, but when you see him go up and down the stairs on Air Force One, he looks a little shaky, doesn't he? So all sorts of speculation about where he will be. I'd be surprised if we don't see him over the next couple of days.
Exactly. Laurie, always a joy to talk to you, and thank you for explaining it all so simply. That is a political journalist and economist, I can't even say the word, Laurie Laird for us. It's one of those days, isn't it? OK, I'm Dawn Neeson with GBNews. There's loads more coming up on today's show, but first, yes, it's Bethany Elsey with your news headlines.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Further protests are expected across the country today after a court overturned an injunction that would have prevented asylum seekers remaining in the Bell Hotel in Epping. The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister's tax affairs after she reportedly saved £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her second home. A US court has ruled most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal but is allowing them to remain in place for now. And at least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack by Russia. The president of Palestine and 80 other officials have had their US visas revoked, meaning they can no longer attend the UN Assembly meeting in New York next month. Those are the headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather, and a bit of an unsettled weekend to come. We've got low pressure moving in from the Atlantic. We're going to see rain sweeping its way eastwards through the day today and turning windy. This is the area of low pressure which is starting to move in. It's associated weather fronts bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain this morning across western areas. So a wet start to the day here. But across eastern areas, sunshine holding on for longer, some glimmers of brightness as we move through into the afternoon, though clouding over. The rain continuing across western parts, the wind starting to pick up, gusts of 25, 30 miles an hour or so, perhaps locally 40 around the coast. So cool here, temperatures in the around 19 to 21 Celsius, but 22 to 24 perhaps in any sunshine holding on across the far east. This band of rain continues to slowly push eastwards as we go through this evening, holding on to some dry weather in the far northeast of Scotland, Orkney and Shetland there, not seeing rain till later, but a wet evening across Scotland, brighter for Northern Ireland with showers, much of England seeing the cloud and the rain push its way eastwards with some brighter skies following for Wales and the West Country with some heavy showers. The wind staying strong as we move through into the early hours as the rain slowly pushes away. Blustery showers moving in, gales developing around some Irish sea coasts as well. And so for everyone overnight, a bit of a blustery night, but it should hold temperatures up around 12 to 14 Celsius as a result. And it means an unsettled start to Sunday. Low pressure in charge, the centre of the low just sat to the northwest of the UK. Showers quite frequent across western areas, but plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern areas through the day, but the showers becoming more widespread into the afternoon. Some longer spells of rain possible for Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland too, and remaining quite cool and windy. Highs around 22 or 23 towards southeast England.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend out. It's been a long week, hasn't it? Now, let's talk about the royals, because it's a weekend and I feel like we should have a little royal slot. A new book claims that Queen Elizabeth is privately, or was privately, opposed to Brexit. Reports suggest that 3 months before the 2016 referendum, the late monarch told a minister, "We shouldn't leave the EU," later adding, "It's better to stick with the devil you know." though she occasionally voiced frustration, describing bureaucracy in Brussels as ridiculous. Joining me now is royal author and historian Alexandra Larman to bring us up to date on this story. Alexandra, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Now, Alexandra, I thought was it the Sun newspaper that had a splash saying that she was all fully in support of Brexit, and now we learn she was a staunch Remainer. What's going on?
Hi, Dawn. Well, I think the first thing to say in this case is we're never going to know for certain what the Queen herself believed, because obviously the royal family's motto was never complain, never explain. And the late Queen, I mean, unlike her son and indeed grandson, was somebody who was very good at not having her private opinions taken out and put into the public domain. So what is very interesting is that there is, as you say, there was a story saying the Queen was a Brexiteer. Now the story is saying that the Queen is a Remainer. And it's very interesting because obviously we're never going to know what the actual truth of the matter is. There'll be some people who seize upon this as an example of how we should never have left the EU, that if the Queen had come forward in 2016, she might have swayed a lot of people's minds. Then there'll be people who can say, well, obviously it's a Remainer who's come out with this. It's certainly the story comes from George Osborne, who was an arch Remainer, and so the vested interest in putting forward his pro-EU views. What I would say is that it's an interesting story, and I think that obviously it's from a book by a man called Valentine Lowe, who's the Times' royal correspondent, who's quite a knowledgeable figure. He's quite clued up about this, so we can take it that he's going to be quite well informed. But on the other hand, essentially, conversations behind closed doors, you don't know what's going to happen in them. And until we can actually find, which may not happen for many, many years, a letter or a diary by the late Queen in which she actually expressed her views one way or the other, this is all very entertaining speculation, nothing more.
But the thing is, I mean, as you say, it's all from a book, and you know, we will probably never know. But however, these stories do have a habit of staying in your brain. Like I remembered the one about her, you know, supporting Brexit, and this does stay in your mind, and it does make you alter your opinion of the Queen, which I mean, she can't defend herself, she can't explain, and she infamously never did in any case. So is it really fair to be revealing these details, albeit I know you're selling a book, but is it really fair?
Well, no, I don't think it is fair, actually, Dawn, because I think one of the things about the late Queen is she was somebody who believed in discretion, and she believed that if she said something, often very candidly behind closed doors, she did not expect it was going to be leaked. And what I find very interesting is that obviously it was given out in 2014 that Scotland should think very carefully about their decision before seeking independence, which was taken, and I think rightly, to mean that the Queen herself was somebody who was not in favour of it. And this was, David Cameron made that rather unwise remark about how she purred down the phone to him. And I think it was made very clear to him after that, right, you do not say anything again, which is revelatory of that kind of private conversation. And so if she had said in 2016, I want Britain to remain in the EU, and by the way, I don't think this is a given. I mean, I don't think that just because she said that better the devil you know, that this was some sort of ringing endorsement of the EU. I think that like many she was somebody who probably looked at Brexit and looked at the kind of people behind it and thought, well, I'm not certain that it's going to be a success, but on the other hand, I don't much like the EU, I don't much like the institution. So she might well have been the classic 52-48 person. So, and I think that it may have been in other moments that she said, well, actually, you know, the sooner we're rid of the EU, the better. The sooner we can set out on our own, that's going to be a great future for this country. So, yes, I think I would really hesitate before seeing this as some kind of definitive last word on the subject.
I mean, she was very, very famously discreet about everything. I mean, even her closest aides didn't know her political views. However, the Prince of Wales, her son, our now king, is slightly different. I mean, he's infamous for writing those spidery black letter things. And according to this book, the Queen wasn't exactly fond of him doing that, was she?
No, absolutely not, because she saw it as being a blurring of a line between your private opinions, which of course you are entitled to, and interfering in public matters. Because I don't think anyone's seriously going to say that the king was not a Remainer. He has every kind of air of a man who would not only been desperate for Britain to have remained in the EU, but you can be fairly sure if the opportunity came, he'd probably lead the campaign to rejoin the EU himself now. So I think that you can see that in that regard, he was almost certainly to the left of his mother. But also he's been very clear and very frank with his own opinions. And some might welcome that. I mean, I can't say that I do, and I'm not sure many of your viewers would. But on the other hand, he's definitely somebody who's put himself out there. And I think that it's very much in his case, he's very happy to complain and very happy to explain. And his younger son, of course, has taken that several stages further.
He really has. Alexander, just one final very quick question. Also in this book, it does reveal that Charles's sister Anne and brother Andrew both think he's a little bit bonkers about his drive for the eco mission and the, you know, hugging trees.
Well, I think that in the case of Princess Anne, she has a perfect right to say whatever she wants, and I think that that's absolutely fair enough. Andrew, I just don't think he's got a right to say anything, if I'm being absolutely honest. I think the less from that man, the better, frankly.
Absolutely. Always good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Alexander. That's royal author and historian Alexander Larman there, discussing whether the Queen was a Ramona or a Brexiteer. We'll probably never know. However, if you are in search of some holiday sun to get away from all this madness, here is the forecast for those top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Augustin is easing across northern parts of Europe, bringing mostly settled conditions, though we can't rule out some showers at times. For example, across northwest Portugal, northern parts of Spain and western parts of France, we just have some outbreaks of rain pushing through here. But otherwise, as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, mostly high pressure dominating, so plenty of sunshine to go around. Though as we head into next week, there's a chance we could just start to see some thundery showers push into parts of Italy, but temperatures mostly remaining in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dewbs and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thanks for your company. Aidan McGee's in the studio, and we were chatting during the break about really, really bad football clubs. And I know a lot on this subject, obviously being a West Ham fan. But we are talking about Man United. Oh, my God.
Well, look, we saw what happened, didn't we, Dawn, earlier in the week? They went to Grimsby, Blundell Park, League Two side, I think fourth in League Two, and they were turned over. They really were. I mean, they got it back late on, didn't they, with those 2 goals? But when you look at Benjamin Sesko, right, £70 million player, new signing, yeah, right, he's young, but he delayed his penalty until the 10th kick before it got to the goalkeepers. If you're that expensive and you're new at the club, you want to make an impression, surely you say, right, I want to be up in the first 5, boss. I'm a striker. That's what I do. I kick the ball into the net for a living, right? And the manager should have been putting some pressure on him as well. That's by the by now. It's gone. They're out of the competition. But I wonder if that result is going to be a staging post for the reign of Ruben Amorim, because we'll hear from him in a moment. But this press conference he gave yesterday, where he spoke about hating the players at times, was really, really strange.
Why would you do? This is what we were talking about during the break, right? Okay. Why would you do that? Okay.
Well, shall we have a listen to it first?
Go on, have a listen.
Let's have a listen to it first, and you can make your own minds up at home when we discuss it.
Sometimes I want to quit. Sometimes I want to be here for 20 years. Sometimes I love to be with my players. Sometimes I don't want to be with him. So, again, I need to improve on that. It's going to be hard. But now I'm focused in the next game.
Aidan, OK, we think things like that. We all think mad stuff.
All the time.
But why would you say it? I mean...
Well, you work with me every week, so you have to.
Yeah, of course. If you're a football fan and you're watching that, you're going to think, well, he hates the players, he hates the fans, you can just disappear, mate.
Look, as you say, everyone thinks like that. It's an entirely natural response. I just think this guy's a little bit too honest for his own good. Now, there is an army of media operators around him who should be at least saying, look, these are the nuances within English football. You say that, and it's going to be twisted that way. I've been there in that press conferences myself so many times, crying out for a line like that because I can do something with it. Now, the issue here is that, as I say, I think he's too honest for his own good, and I just wonder whether the job's too big for him. Because, look, he managed Sporting Lisbon, big club in Portugal, but whenever he got this job, I said at the time, well, everyone else was saying this is all about formations. He'll implement this strategy, this false nines and this team play and all the rest of it. And I said, at Man United, and at a lot of other clubs in this country, but Man United especially, that is probably about 25% of the battle. You've got to be able to manage pressure. Yeah. And he doesn't seem to be able to manage it. Even during the shootout the other day, he was sat like a scared cat under the...
I've never seen anything like it. This is Man United. I mean, if you think of Alex Ferguson back in the day, and it's like, you know, and it's like...
Well, take it...
In hiding.
Take Sesko, for example. We touched on him a minute ago. 17 years old. He's going up to take his penalty, the 10th penalty. What's he thinking when his manager is sitting under the dugout in the rain, not even looking? I find it extraordinary.
That's not managing.
But somebody around him, it certainly isn't, and somebody around him needs to be saying, look, even if it's only performative, get out in the centre circle and be with your players.
OK.
And they've got Burnley today at 3 o'clock, and I think if they lose that, he's going to be in serious, serious trouble.
Oh, we've run out of time to talk about the tennis.
That was football.
No, the tennis. Okay.
Raducanu and Norrie are out of the US Open. They have to regroup and get if they're going to avoid getting these really big opponents early in the rounds, or early in the tournaments, they've got to find some consistency.
Aidan, you're brilliant, but I've got to shut you up, unfortunately. Thank you very much for popping in. Loads more coming up soon. Here's the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Low pressure in charge as we head through the weekend, bringing some wet and windy weather across many areas, some showers following on behind the rain as well. This is the low pressure associated with the unsettled weather. Lots of isobars on the chart indicating some brisk winds, particularly in the west. So this afternoon into this evening, we've got a band of rain continuing to push its way eastward, some heavy rain associated with that, and then clearer skies following on behind, but blustery showers overnight. Showers most frequent in the west during the early hours, perhaps some longer spells of rain starting to move in to western parts of Northern Ireland, and remaining quite windy, gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour, particularly in the west, and that will keep temperatures up in double figures. So for some, a quiet start to Sunday morning, some sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern parts of England, but there will be showers, particularly around the coast and across the west. Some of these showers first thing will be heavy, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder, and those showers extend across many western parts through the morning. So sunny spells and showers even into Scotland, though lots of places will be dry to start the day, and temperatures around 12 to 14 Celsius, and quite blustery winds as well. Through the day, this area of low pressure just starts to slowly push in a little further, so areas of rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, particularly in the west and western parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, an afternoon of sunny spells and heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder possible as well. In the sunshine, not feeling too bad, but the blustery wind will make it feel cool as the showers pass through, temperatures reaching the high teens to low 20s, around about 23 Celsius. Across southeast England, and those showers continue into the evening time as low pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern. And it looks like there's very little change as we move through the week, generally staying unsettled, low pressure in charge, further showers, longer spells of rain and brisk winds, and temperatures near average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, Dame Helen Mirren has said that despite being a feminist, she believes the next James Bond has to be a chap.
OK, she said that she believes it just doesn't work, and by having a woman as Bond, the project becomes something else entirely.
So we are asking the question, could Bond ever be a woman?
Well, we're joined by a former what is termed Bond girl, Jenny Hanley, and and there is, we weren't expecting you, but it's really 007 podcast contributor John Kell there as well. Jenny, you've been there, done it, got the T-shirt, been involved in it. What's your take?
I think James Bond has to be a male, because he came from the imagination of Ian Fleming. If you want a female 007, don't ride on his coattails and take the fame that has come from his character, James Bond. Write your own.
Yeah, you see, that's what I tend to think. But
I just think that you just go 007. The problem is, right, the last Bond film, he died. James Bond died. I mean, there was a... Oh, sorry.
Great, I haven't seen that one.
Sorry, yeah. I think everybody pretty much now knows that he definitely... I mean, there was an absolutely... It wasn't even did he or didn't he, can he or can he not survive. It was 100% gone. So it's now time for a clean... The nice thing about a clean sheet, surely, John, is that you can actually go, right, so 007, let's do the 007, and then we can do different stories, because the books that have been written by Ian Fleming have been well and truly milked, haven't they?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock on Saturday, the 30th of August, and this is the weekend on GB News. Packed hour coming up for you, including, yes, a fresh wave of protests expected this weekend after judges overturned the High Court's order to clear asylum seekers from Epping's Bell Hotel. We're bringing the latest as it develops.
Well, after the Court of Appeal overturned that temporary injunction across the country, more protests at migrant hotels are taking place. We've got both sides here just outside Milton Keynes. We've got signs here that say refugees welcome, and over here plenty of union flags and people protesting. One sign here says enough is enough. We'll bring you all of the action from this protest.
Looking forward to that. Meanwhile, the Conservatives want to launch an investigation into Angela Rayner over claims she dodged £40,000 in stamp duty on a second home. At the very least, are Labour guilty of hypocrisy? And as Essex Council staff are offered, brace yourself people, support if they feel unsettled by St George's flags being put up, we're asking, are we literally the only nation on earth who's scared of our own flag? And as it's a sporting weekend, Women's Super League players are set to resume taking the knee. Is it still a powerful stand against racism, or has the gesture lost all its impact? And yeah, we'll be debating the so-called princess treatment, where women expect gifts and dinners while men foot the bill. But in today's feminist society, should men still be paying? I'm Dawn Neesman, this is Weekend. So that's going to be a feisty debate. I mean, you can treat me like a princess anytime you want, by the way, if anyone wants to sort of like buy me a glass of champagne, especially right now. I'm here, I'm up for it. But this show is not about whether I fancy a glass of champagne now, which I do. You can, yes, actually it is. You can get your thoughts coming in on all the stories we're talking about today. Very simple, by going to gbnews.com/your say. But before we get cracking on the rest of the show, here's the latest news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom at 1:02. A fresh wave of protests are taking place across the country against hotels housing asylum seekers. It's after the Court of Appeal overturned an injunction that would have prevented nearly 140 migrants remaining at the Bell Hotel in Epping. Following the verdict, several councils are considering legal action to try and stop the practice. Former Home Office Minister Tom Pursglove says the progress of the Conservative Party has been undone.
They've truly lost the public on this, and this is a terrible situation to be in, and I find this particularly frustrating because I was the minister, along with James Cleverly, that presided over closing the Bell Hotel in Epping, and what this government has done is squandered all the progress that we made. We'd managed to close 188 hotels. We'd pivoted towards larger sites. We'd got a deterrent in place that needed to happen, of course. We needed to get flights off the ground, but things were moving in the right direction, and they've really squandered all of that.
The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister's tax affairs. The Telegraph is reporting Angela Rayner avoided paying £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her new flat in East Sussex by telling tax authorities it was her main home. But she had also told Thameside Council her constituency house in Greater Manchester remains her primary residence for council tax purposes. Although the changes are legal, the Conservative Party chairman, Kevin Hollinrake, has written to the Independent Standards Advisor over what he called inappropriate tax avoidance. A US Court of Appeal has ruled that most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal. It says the president was not legally allowed to declare national emergencies and impose taxes on almost every country. Trump rejected the ruling, saying all tariffs remain in place, and if they were removed, it would be a total disaster for the country. The Trump administration has until mid-October to appeal to the Supreme Court. At least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack. Russia launched over 500 drones and dozens of missiles overnight that hit residential and retail areas in the southeastern city of Zaporizhzhia. Volodymyr Zelensky says it's clear Russia is disregarding diplomacy and is calling on real action from the US and Europe to end the war. The Palestinian president and 80 other officials have had their US visas revoked. It means they can no longer attend the United Nations Assembly meeting in New York next month. Several US allies, including France, Malta and Australia, have announced plans to recognise Palestine as a state at that meeting. The State Department claims it's acting in the interests of national security. And Gordon Ramsay has revealed he's undergone treatment to remove skin cancer from the side of his face. The TV chef was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, a non-melanoma form of skin cancer. In a post on Instagram, he thanked his medical team for their fast and reactive work. Cancer Research UK replied to his post, urging people to cover up and apply sun cream regularly and generously. Those are the latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany. And I'm not meant to tell you that the director has just spent the break saying what lovely hair she has. Never says that to me, can't think why. She does have lovely hair and she is very lovely. Not so sure about the director, to be honest with you. In any case, we've got a cracking show coming up for you and he's not going to talk to me now, so I need your company, gbnews.com/yoursay. Main story of the week, you can't avoid it, can you? The government has won its appeal to keep almost 140 migrants at the Bell Hotel in Epping. A win for the Home Office, but branded injustice by local residents. Senior judges overturned an earlier order to move the men out by mid-September, saying the first ruling was seriously flawed. They were actually pretty damning about it. But the decision has reignited anger in Epping and, well, indeed across the country. More protests outside migrant hotels are expected this weekend. So we have sent Jack Carson to one of those hotels in Milton Keynes. Jack, how's it going there at the moment?
Well, let's paint a picture, shall we, Dawn, of what's happening here at the protest. We've got both sides here. Come with me. We'll show you a little bit of what's going on. So over here, you can see there's a line of police officers here with all of the protesters here against the Migrant Hotel, the MK Hotel just outside Milton Keynes. Some of the signs, down with Starmer and take your party. Plenty of people waving union flags as well. One sign saying enough is enough. Other people wearing T-shirts saying stop the boats. We talked to them a little bit earlier. They've been concerned, they say, in the area about this hotel for a while, but spin round because we have got a counter protest as well. So you can see here people chanting refugees are welcome here, a similar level of police in front as well. Some of the signs, refugees welcome here, refugees are you and I with different circumstances. That's one of the signs that says here. Now let's speak to one of the people that's on this side of the protest, Louise. Louise, thank you for talking to us this afternoon. Just give us a sense of why you've wanted to come and protest and show your support at this demonstration.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking me to speak. I live locally. I grew up locally, and I heard about Connor and his friends that were bringing their protest from outside of this area, and it made me feel very concerned. We are a really diverse, welcoming, tolerant, respectful community. We do loads of work locally, and we work with the refugees, with the asylum seekers, sorry. They're really integrated in our society, and it's really important for me and my friends and our locals to come along and show a different viewpoint, because these views that he's bringing into our society are not welcome here.
Now, when we spoke to him earlier, he said that there'd been concerns around the migrants staying at this hotel in a local primary school, that there'd been concern around the placement of the hotel. Yeah. Do you understand those concerns? Are those fair concerns from those people on that side?
So no, they're not valid concerns at all. There have been people that have stirred up, I would say, can I say, racist opinions about people that look different to them. But the police investigated those accusations. It was 100%, and the Northamptonshire police made a statement to say those accusations were completely unfounded. There was no evidence. So that's people that are trying to make up stories about people that aren't true. And they're not migrants, they're asylum seekers. And I would love people to really think about what that really means.
Well, they have said to us that they wouldn't know what the possibilities of where to house these people if not in hotels. They've been chanting at you, if not in the hotels, would you take them in?
Well, in my house? Well, I wouldn't fit 60 people in my house, would I? So I think a hotel is a perfectly fine place for now. The issue is The asylum seekers that are living in this house have come from the most, if you look at the top 10 most dangerous countries in the world right now, a lot of the men that are living in this hotel are from those countries. Their dads, their uncles, their older siblings. They've made a really dangerous, difficult journey to try and get sanctuary for them and their families. So it's really important they have somewhere to go, and that's completely within our international laws. And if it ever happened to us, I'd hope another country would welcome me in. But they're stuck in a hotel and they don't really want to be. They would absolutely love for the Home Office to speed things up, approve their illegal refugee status, so they can set up a life here. They can get a house, they can get a job, they can start paying their tax and contributing to our society. And that's great, because we've got lots of diversity in this area and we can take more. It's ridiculous what people are saying, it's not true. And that's why we feel so passionately and why we've come out today to show that these views are not welcome here, but the asylum seekers are.
Louise, thank you so much for talking to us and giving us the perspective from this side of the protest. As we say, we spoke to Connor on the other side of the protest earlier on. We were speaking to all kinds of different people as this protest continues here just outside Milton Keynes this afternoon, Dawn.
Great reporting there, Jack Carson. Thank you very much. That's GB News national reporter at Milton Keynes, and we will be going back live to Jack throughout the afternoon. Obviously, I mean, we are reporting both sides of the protest there, so I'm keen to hear what you say about this at gbnews.com/your say. OK, let's do the other big political stories of the week. Joining me now is Liberal Democrat councillor for Epping, Hemnall Ward, Cherry McCready. Cherry, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, I know Epping very well. I don't live too far from you. What do you make of what's happened to your town over the past week?
Thank you. You can hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, may I correct you? I'm not a Liberal Democrat councillor. I'm independent. And I'm only a
Sorry,
town
apologies for
councillor.
that.
That's fine, it's fine. I'm only a town councillor. I'm not a district councillor. And it was really nice to hear what that last lady was saying, because I totally agree with what she has said. I've written a few notes. The same, a town councillor, not a district councillor. My ward goes up as far as the high road. So the people who live on on Bell Common are my residents. The hotel itself is not my ward. This is a very difficult situation we have here at the moment. Residents are incredibly angry, and I don't think I've ever seen so much anger from the people of Epping. My opinion is closing the hotel is not the answer. The answer is it only moves problems somewhere else, where someone else has got to pick it up. The answer is it has to be managed. Now, we look at the Home Office have dumped this situation on us with no support, minimal support. We've got many people in there who do not even speak English. And the guy who allegedly, of the alleged assault the other week, he'd only been in the country 9 days from Ethiopia. He doesn't know our culture. And I think we need to be addressing these people learning our culture rather than just letting them loose on the street where they can walk up and down the high road and think that they're still in their own country. So I think the problem has to be addressed by the Home Office. They have to take some responsibility that they haven't managed this. They just dump these people on us with no management, no care, no supervision, or minimal. We should be looking towards integration, supervision, language skills, and which I don't believe there's been any training in that. And I say moving the problem somewhere else isn't the answer. We've got to manage the problem here. But as a representative of my local residents, they have really been severely disrupted. Over the last 6 weeks, we've had helicopters, we've had chanting, we've had all sorts of things going on. My local residents are really fed up with this. They've had as much as they can, and the Home Office have really now got to step up and sort out the situation with a way of management, not necessarily with a way of movement.
Cherry, we have to be very careful talking about our cases. Many other cases are still live, so we can't talk about specific cases. But many of the crimes we have seen associated, alleged crimes we have seen associated with migrant hotels. You say there's a cultural issue, these people don't understand the culture. Well, that is not the fault of the victims of their alleged crimes, is it? I mean, in some cases we have seen young girls allegedly sexually assaulted by residents at hotels, and I'm being very careful because there are live cases. And to say they don't understand the culture, what about the victims?
I don't downplay what's happened to the victims, but the answer's got to be into educating the people who are coming to our country as to how they treat us. You know, I'm fully sympathetic with the poor young lady who was assaulted on the high street and the various other...
That's a live case, we have to be careful what we say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's still alleged. But this is where we have to address the situation with the residents and teach them, train them how they should behave in our country.
OK, all right, Cherry, thank you very much. That's Cherry McCready there, who is an independent councillor for Epping, Hemel Ward. Well, some interesting views there. Let me know what you think about that. gbnews.com/your say. Now, OK, the other big political stories of the week. The Conservative Party are calling for an investigation into Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner after she's been accused of avoiding £40,000 in stamp duty when buying a second home. Angela Rayner is said to have told tax authorities that her £800,000 seaside apartment in East Sussex was her main place of residence to avoid paying extra tax. Now, let's make it 100% clear, she has not done anything wrong. She has played completely legally by the rules, and in fact, many of us in this situation would do exactly the same thing. However, we're not setting the laws that govern property, buying, selling, rent, etc. As Housing Secretary, she is. So we're asking, is she and her government maybe a little bit hypocritical? Joining us now is Chief Political Commentator at The Independent, John Rentoul. John, good to see you. Always good to see you, in fact. Now,
hello, Dawn.
Hello, good to see you. And now, Angela Rayner, she has been getting one hell of a kicking this week. She's on the front pages again today. Do you think this treatment of her is fair, and is she indeed a hypocrite?
No and no. The story here is an MP bought a flat and paid the tax that was due. That's end of. Next story.
But it does, I mean, there is an implication that maybe she's declaring one home her main home and maybe getting round the stamp duty.
No, this isn't right, actually. The question is how many properties does she own? I mean, if she owns a share of that the house in her constituency, then this flat in Hove would be a second property, and she would be liable to the higher rate of stamp duty on it. She says she doesn't own a share in her constituency house, where her divorced husband lives with the two teenage boys, and I'm sure that is correct. In which case she doesn't have to pay the higher rate of stamp duty, and everything's been done according to the law.
However, this is, I mean, Angela Rayner, she does say that she's removed her name from the deeds of the family home, as you say, in Manchester. But the Land Registry said an application was made to change the deeds of the Ashton-under-Lyne house. But they also say we cannot offer any confirmation, and the documents do not appear to support the claim that she removed her name from the deeds. So at the very least, she owes people an explanation about exactly what is going on here. Bearing in mind, John, she is in charge of setting the rules around renting, around stamp duty, and what's coming up in the budget for homeowners and landlords. It just sounds terrifying.
Well, I accept all that, and I think perhaps she should have been more forward with the details. But you can understand why she isn't. I mean, she's under attack from the right-wing press. And she feels her family's privacy is being invaded. I think it's completely understandable that she's not being totally forthcoming. But when she says she does not own a share of that house in her constituency, I believe her. And unless someone's got evidence to the contrary, which they haven't, then I think everybody else ought to believe her too.
OK, do you think at the very least, John, she is Housing Secretary, obviously, she should step away from the potential changes that are coming in the budget with regard to the tax that people will pay when they buy and sell their homes, the council tax that's involved, and maybe the extra tax that renter owners and what's the word I'm looking for? Landlords are going to have to pay. Do you think she should remove herself from this?
No, of course not. What, remove herself as Deputy Prime Minister? I don't think so. No,
as Housing Secretary.
This is all this is all speculation about what might be in the budget. Let's wait and see. But I mean, the budget is Rachel Reeves' responsibility. So I don't see a problem there. But I mean, in any case, she's not a landlord. She owns one property, as far as we know, which is this flat in Hove, and she has paid the correct amount of tax on it. And I think that's the end of the story.
So do you think this is a lot of fuss and we shouldn't be concerned about Angela Rayner, even though, as I keep coming back to, she is Housing Secretary, she is in charge of how much we all pay on our properties?
Well, of course, she should be open and transparent. I mean, I think she may not have been as open and transparent as some people would like her to be, but she has paid, you know, unless it turns out that she hasn't been telling the truth and that she's broken the law, then I think people should leave her alone.
And there's no allegation that she has, but she has got previous. She's been through this before, hasn't she? When she had her council houses.
Well, there was another campaign by the politically motivated press to try and get her over the sale of her council house before she was an MP. Yes, which appeared in a biography of her, written by a former Tory peer. So yes, I mean, but in the end of that story, nothing was proved against her, and she emerged.
She's a politician. Politicians know that people are always out to get them. There will always be someone writing a book, coming up with stories to try and discredit you. So the fact that she's been through this before, surely she should have thought, right, I've got to be very transparent with this, very clear about what I'm doing here.
Well, you may be, but I mean, I think what her attitude was, I've got to be sure that I've actually obeyed the law and observed all the legal niceties. But when it comes to telling everybody about it and about her private family arrangements, I think she's understandably a bit reluctant because she doesn't see why she should give in to the right-wing press hounding.
OK, and you're more than happy for her to decide on how much we all pay come the budget. I know it's speculation, but there's always speculation, and there's a black hole to fill.
Yeah, of course there is, and I think some very painful decisions are coming down the line. But I mean, she will be. I mean, if there is, say, you know, an additional tax on property, she will have to pay it too, and I think that will apply to everybody. OK, John, just finally, very quickly, let's see. Look at this story for you. Reform takes a shock 15-point lead over Labour as Farage dreams of winning power. Quick comment on that one. Well, it's just one poll, but it's not good for the Prime Minister. I mean, 35%. That's a record high for Reform. I mean, they've hit 34% several times recently, but you know, the government is in danger, and I think Keir Starmer realises that. I think he's got to get his act together. He's got to get a grip, and he's got to stop the boats. And if he doesn't stop the boats, his government is finished, I'm afraid. Brilliant. As always, John Rentoul, good to talk to you. That's our chief political commentator at The Independent. OK, now a spokesperson for Ms Rayner says the Deputy Prime Minister paid the correct duty owed on the purchase of her flat entirely properly and in line with all relevant requirements. Any suggestion otherwise is entirely without basis. OK, well, we're going to give some money away now, even if the government don't want to do that. It's time for our latest Great British giveaway, and it's your biggest prize to date, worth over £104,000. You could win, right? Bear with me. A 4-berth motorhome worth over £74,000 plus £30,000 in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also
also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neesman. Remember, keep those messages coming in, by the way. I am going to read as many out. Lots of you are quite angry this morning. Now, a row has erupted in Essex. Again, what's Essex done at the moment? After council bosses told staff they can seek support, wait for it, if St George's flags leave them feeling unsettled. There's a trigger warning, there's a picture of St George's flag on your screen. You can hide behind the sofas if you want to. The flags, raised in a nationwide campaign, were said to carry uncomfortable associations for some. Leaders insist they proudly fly the flag across the county hall in Essex, though. So are we the only nation Scared of our own flag. It's a flag. Joining me now, who's expert on this subject, is our historian and broadcaster, Rafe Haydale-Menko. Rafe, good to see you. Always good to see you, to be honest with you. I've read this story and I thought it's April 1st. Every day is April 1st. They have seriously sent an email round offering support, mental health support, for council workers who are triggered by the flag of our country. Can you make that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, what sort of a snowflake society have we become, you know, if people really are genuinely unsettled and afraid? You have to laugh about this. It's the national flag of our country. I mean, my gosh, what they do during last night with the proms, I can't imagine. They must be going straight to their therapist the next day after seeing that. You know, why didn't we see statements like this issued for the Jewish community regarding the flying of Palestinian flags from lampposts and at the pro-Palestine marches across the country? You know, we live in an era of identity politics now where everybody is encouraged to celebrate their identity, be it their nationality, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation. But there's one exception, and that's the English. The English alone aren't allowed to celebrate their identity. Even within this island, you know, the Scots and the Welsh rejoice in their identity. They're always wrapping themselves in their national flags, quite rightly. But when they do so, it's called progressive nationalism and it's seen as being inclusive. When the English do it, it's racist and it's somehow exclusive. And it's just part of this long war against England. You see it through the long march of the institutions. That's what we're seeing here from this council's statement being put out. The people that run these institutions, it's almost as if they have a loathing for England and that they're afraid of English nationalism, because I think they understand that England is the dominant partner in the Union. And they want to suppress that. I mean, you know, when we left the European Union, at London City Hall, they removed the European Union flag. And there was no English flag flying, even though London is the capital of England. So I suggested that they fly the English flag, as you find in Edinburgh and Cardiff and Belfast with their flags. They rejected that outright. Sadiq Khan refused London cabbies from flying the English flag from taxis. Ken Livingstone refused funding for a St George's Day parade, saying it was xenophobic and divisive, whilst he gave money to a St Patrick's Day parade. That's the reality, and the English have had enough of it.
I just really read you this note, right? This is from the Newsagents podcast. I think it's out this week. And they're saying, if you're angry about England flags, well, if you use the England flag, you are doing the far right's work. That's what they say in this podcast. You're only flying the flag to try and get a reaction. And in some cases, you're doing it to intimidate. You want to send a message of cultural aggression. If you are flying the cross of St George, or indeed the Union flag, the same applies. Why are they saying that? It's our flag. What's wrong with being proud of our flags?
This is not an act of aggression. This is an act of a community that feels threatened. You know, the Scots and the Welsh and the Irish became patriotic because they felt oppressed, rightly or wrongly, by the English. That's why they flew their flags. That's why the people of Eastern Europe flew their flags. They felt oppressed by the Soviet Union. In England now, the English feel oppressed. They see their history being denigrated, being derided. Everything that's bad about Britain is somehow England's fault. And all they see are minority cultures being elevated over the predominant English-British culture. And it's got to the point now where they see their towns and their cities completely changing beyond all recognition from the towns they grew up in because of mass immigration. And that sticks in the craw. And so they are essentially flying their flags as a sign of distress. They've been failed by the institutions, failed and betrayed by their politicians. They're told by the media, by universities and schools that being English is racist, that they're born into white privilege. And so they seem that there's no last resort from them except from flying the flag. It's almost the last stand. What else can we do? There's no one else who can stand up for the English, so we have to do it ourselves. You know, I remember G.K. Chesterton, who famously said, "For we are the people of England that have not spoken yet." Well, the English have now found their voice, and you're seeing that in the Union Jacks and the flags of St George that are flying across this land. And don't let anyone tell you that the English flag is racist or a symbol of the far right. The English flag flies across English country churches right across this land. There's nothing more peaceful and innocent and beautiful than the English flag in the English countryside.
Rafe, thank you very much. That is historian and broadcaster Rafe Haydale-Menko on the fact that some people appear to be scared of our flag. In any case, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GBNews. Lots more coming up on today's show. But first, it is time for the news headlines with Bethany Elsie.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. Further protests are expected across the country today after a court overturned an injunction that would have prevented asylum seekers remaining in the Bell Hotel in Epping. The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister's tax affairs after she avoided paying £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her second home. A US court has ruled most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal, but is allowing them to remain in place for now. At least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack by Russia. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you very much, Bethany. And remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today, in particular the migrant hotel protests. I've got loads of messages to read on that one, and they are coming up very soon. Lots of you are indeed very angry. Very easy to get involved at gbnews.com/your say and join in our conversation. But there is loads more coming up. It's absolutely packed. 6 in 10 Gen Z drivers say they suffer, what is going on in this world? Refuel anxiety from parking at the pump to picking the right fuel. Huh? We're scared of flags? We're scared of petrol pumps? What's going on? So is this just nerves, or are Gen Z proving they are pathetic, to be honest with you? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Lisa. I'm not a Gen Z, you might have noticed. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. I'll see you soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather, and a bit of an unsettled weekend to come. We've got low pressure moving in from the Atlantic. We're going to see rain sweeping its way eastwards through the day today and turning windy. This is the area of low pressure which is starting to move in. It's associated weather fronts bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain this morning across western areas. So a wet start to the day here, but across eastern areas, sunshine holding on for longer. Some glimmers of brightness as we move through into the afternoon, though clouding over. The rain continuing across western parts. The wind starting to pick up. Gusts of 25, 30 miles an hour or so, perhaps locally 40 around the coast. So cool here, temperatures in the around 19 to 21 Celsius, but 22 to 24 perhaps in any sunshine holding on across the far east. This band of rain continues to slowly push eastwards as we go through this evening, holding on to some dry weather in the far northeast of Scotland, Orkney and Shetland there. Not seeing rain till later, but a wet evening across Scotland. Brighter for Northern Ireland with showers. Much of England seeing the cloud and the rain push its way eastwards with some brighter skies following for Wales and the West Country with some heavy showers. The wind staying strong as we move through into the early hours as the rain slowly pushes away. Blustery showers moving in, gales developing around some Irish sea coasts as well. And so for everyone overnight, a bit of a blustery night, but it should hold temperatures up around 12 to 14 Celsius as a result. And it means an unsettled start to Sunday. Low pressure in charge. The centre of the low just sat to the northwest of the UK. Showers quite frequent across western areas, but plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern areas through the day, but the showers becoming more widespread into the afternoon. Some longer spells of rain possible for Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland too, and remaining quite cool and windy. Highs around 22 or 23 towards southeast England.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, if you're upset about the people who are scared of flags, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you get a load of this one. Now, I'm Dawn Neeson, by the way. Just in case you haven't been aware of that, I am Dawn Neeson. This is still GB News. Now, new research shows 62% of Gen Z drivers aged 18 to 24 suffer from, take it seriously, Dawn, refuel anxiety. That's far higher than the UK average. Many fear parking at the petrol pump, using the nozzle, choosing the right fuel, or, God forbid, making a mistake in public. So we're asking, is Gen Z's latest source of dread, or are Gen Z just too woke for their own good? I mean, come on. Not so long ago, this age group were fighting wars for us. Now they can't fill their cars up. Joining me now is psychologist Jo Hemmings. Jo, I am trying really hard to take this seriously because I'm sure there is some really good psychological reason why this is happening, but come on, they're scared of a petrol pump.
OK, I'm going to cut them 2 tiny bits of slack before I go on to this.
Go on.
There is a fear of putting the wrong fuel in, which, of course, is a disaster. There's also a thing I remember at that age of, because fuel prices are so expensive, you can only put in, say, a tenner's worth or 20 quid. And the thing whizzes around really fast now, right? So you can suddenly fill a tank up and it's going to cost you 60 or 70 pounds and they can't afford it. So that I get. What I don't get is the fear of the pump not being close enough to their car, not being able to undo the nozzle, being seen to sort of get it wrong. These are mundane, everyday tasks. It started with the phone. They didn't like to make phone calls, but were fear of making real-life phone calls. And now we've got the problem with the petrol pump. And in this study, it said 25% of these fearful, anxious fuel fillers run out of fuel because of it. Now, that really is something to be anxious about. If your car runs out of petrol in the middle of nowhere, you have every right to be anxious. So why wouldn't you just get on with this everyday task? You know, get someone to teach you the first time if you're worried about it, and then get on. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the time from time immemorial. As you know, as soon as we had cars and we were driving, right? You know, an older adult would teach you, if you pass your driving test, to go and fill the car up with petrol. And you know, I remember being a youngster and driving and worrying about how much petrol I was putting in and could I afford it, etc., etc. They're natural human worries. But, I mean, this anxiety about being so worried about filling your car up, you're just simply not doing it and running out of petrol.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's about not wanting to be seen to fail in public. And it's also symptomatic of this generalised low-level anxiety that Generation Z seem to have about so many everyday tasks. And I honestly think someone needs to sit them down and go, look, you know, there's always a little bit of stress with everyday tasks, but for goodness sake, you know, it's actions and consequences. You've got to fill your car up if you want to drive. Otherwise, don't drive.
Well, there is that. Jo, to cut them a little bit of slack, as you were doing, I mean, you know, this is the generation that went through the pandemic. We locked them down. We locked them in their rooms. We stopped them socialising. We stopped them going to school. We stopped them going to college. That is going to have had an impact, isn't it, on their mental health that will probably stay with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it is. It's what I say about this sort of low-level anxiety. It's a cortisol level. That's our hormone that makes us stressed, kind of never really has dipped down since lockdown. So the influence of it is it affects what we consider to be really mundane everyday tasks, but they are getting stressed about them.
Jo, thank you very much. Always a joy to talk to you. That's Jo Hemmings there. Obviously, let me know what you talk about this one. I mean, it's like, you know, too frightened to go to the petrol station. Now, this does happen when you're abroad, right? OK, we were in America, lucky enough to be in America earlier this year, and the petrol pump was so complicated, so complicated. The husband literally went into the garage at the shop bit and goes, I'm English, I have no idea what I'm doing. And a very nice young man came out and helped him. But that was in a different country. He's pretty good at doing it in this country. Okay, so let me know what you think. gbnews.com/say. Losing my voice. Excuse me. Now, coming up, marriage rates are falling fast. Should Britain appoint a marriage czar to help us tie the knot? But first, if you are in search of some holiday sun, my chest sounds like it needs it. Here's the forecast for those top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Storm Augustine is easing across northern parts of Europe, bringing mostly settled conditions, though we can't rule out some showers at times. For example, across northwest Portugal, northern parts of Spain and western parts of France, we just have some outbreaks of rain pushing through here. But otherwise, as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, mostly high pressure dominating, so plenty of sunshine to go around. Though as we head into next week, there's a chance we could just start to see some thundery showers push into parts of Italy, but temperatures mostly remaining in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Despite what Donald Trump's saying about ceasefires and whatever, reports have been coming out overnight about continuing missile attacks.
Well, British expat David Mason was caught up in those missile attacks on Friday when he and his son barely escaped with their lives after an Iranian missile exploded next to them in a bombing raid in northern Israel.
Let's speak to David because David joins us now from his hospital bed, actually, to tell us about this terrifying ordeal. David, how are you?
I'm alive. I'm alive. That's one thing. Yeah. I'm alive.
How bad was it? A close call, was it?
It was very close. The missile hit about 25 feet away from us. God. It blew me completely, that's basically off my feet. And it was just dark and just blood everywhere, basically. I landed. As I woke up, there was a body. I was on top of a body which I thought was my son. And as I cleared all the debris away, I looked up and realized my son was standing there with a hole basically in his neck, shot. Oh. And, I basically went into father mode, as my other children said, dad mode, took my shirt off, wrapped it around his neck to make sure that he wasn't bleeding more. And then he turned to me and said, "But Dad, you're splurting blood from everywhere. My arms, my back, my head." And I said, "Don't worry about me."
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Chu, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. Now, with Parliament set to return on Monday, they've had a long holiday, haven't they? Famous wedding venue, Gretna Green, is calling on the government to bring in a marriage czar, as marriage is declining at a rate of around 2.5% to 3% a year, evidently. It would be their job to make it easier for Brits to tie the knot. Our reporter, Sophie Reaper, has this fascinating story.
1, 2, 3! The iconic Gretna Green. For over 270 years, couples have travelled here to be wed. What started in 1754 as a way for under-18s to marry without parental consent has now become a hotspot for lovebirds to say I do. Guys, you've just gotten married here at Gretna Green. How are you feeling?
Amazing, really, really good. Happy that we've come and celebrated here.
We didn't want anything big, nothing extreme, and it's simple, easy to do.
David and Jenny now have their honeymoon and the rest of their lives to look forward to. But, as is the story for most modern couples, getting married wasn't just about love.
When you're married, everything's like legal-wise is just so much more simpler rather than having to worry about lawyers and stuff like that later on.
To have the same last name as the kids as well is quite a big thing for me.
In England, Scotland and Wales, the laws around marriage are complex and engulfed in red tape. To make things worse, the average cost of a wedding is now over £23,000. And so, as Parliament prepares to return on Monday, Gretna Green is calling on the government to appoint a dedicated marriage czar.
We believe marriage is struggling not because love is dead, it's because the system is broken. People don't seem to see marriage as an important thing. It provides great stability. Marriage matters. There's economic benefits, there's social benefits, and the government have got to show some leadership. And we're calling for a czar because we want someone to be the voice of marriage in this country.
Aside from the cost, Gretna Green also says a marriage czar would work to make things easier for Brits to tie the knot.
It's actually easier to get a passport and quicker to get a passport. It's actually easier to get divorced, which is actually perverse. But in America, it takes 1 and 3 days. Right, in Denmark, it takes 5 days. And Germany, which is a very conservative country, takes 10 days. So why does it take 28 days to get married in Britain?
Every year, around 4,000 newlyweds are married at Gretna Green. But with a change in the law, it seems that many more, both here and across the UK, could be saying I do. Sophie Reaper, GB News.
Oh, thank you very much, Sophie. I love being married. Not sure the husband would agree, but I love it. Wedding planner Sarah Haywood joins us now to explain why getting married is so complicated and so expensive in this country. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. Well, why is it so complicated?
The marriage laws in the UK are antiquated, confusing, overly restrictive, and do not reflect modern society. If you wish to be legally married, you've pretty much got 2 options. Civil ceremony, and to talk about costs, that's not expensive. It's about £150 to give notice, do the ceremony and get a marriage licence. It's the other bit that can be expensive. Or you can get married in a Church of England church. Any other faith, you need to do the legal bit either before, or in some faiths, they will let a registrar come and be present to make the marriage legally binding. That's confusing. I mean, I've worked in weddings for 20 years, and I can't actually tell you how it works in all the faiths that are represented in the UK. It just doesn't reflect modern society. And the Law Commission commissioned a report that came out in 2022, and the government is saying all these things. It's antiquated, doesn't reflect modern society, it's restrictive. One of the most restrictive things is that you have to get married in a licensed premises. So it's actually the building that's licensed, except in Scotland, where they're a tiny bit more progressive, and it's the celebrant. But the government didn't make a response, which it said it would do in 2023, and now we have a different government. And to have not seriously overhauled the marriage laws since the 1850s is ridiculous. And as your report said, you can get a passport online. So if you can do that, why can't you give notice to get married online? You don't. You both have to go down. And this is all rooted in making sure that predominantly the woman was happy and agreeing to get married. Things have changed now. We have other ways to speak. And so it really does need overhauling. And the Law Commission report was excellent. And it came out 3 years ago, so it is not a priority for government. And if they would like to appoint a marriage czar, I would like to nominate myself.
I think you do a pretty good job to me. So if you think it was less complicated, people would still be, getting married. We haven't fallen out of love with the idea of marriage.
I don't think so. Probably. I mean, I don't know, but my guess would be that in the modern age, you do not have to marry someone to live with them. And that's a big change over the last 3 generations. But still, 250,000 people, and slightly more than that, get married in the UK every single year. It's a lot of people wanting to make this commitment. So love is very much alive. It's the complication around it. I mean, I can imagine that if I was perhaps marrying someone of a different faith, just trying to work out how you could do that in a meaningful way. You're not even allowed to have any religious elements within a civil ceremony.
Sorry, Sarah, sorry to interrupt, Sarah. We have unfortunately run out of time, but thank you so much. That's wedding planner Sarah Hayward. Don't go too far. We are going back to that Migrant hotel with Jack, but first, it's the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Low pressure in charge as we head through the weekend, bringing some wet and windy weather across many areas, some showers following on behind the rain as well. This is the low pressure associated with the unsettled weather. Lots of isobars on the chart indicating some brisk winds, particularly in the west. So this afternoon into this evening, we've got a band of rain continuing to push its way eastward, some heavy rain associated with that, and then clearer skies following on behind, but blustery showers overnight. Showers most frequent in the west during the early hours, perhaps some longer spells of rain starting to move in to western parts of Northern Ireland, and remaining quite windy, gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour, particularly in the west, and that will keep temperatures up in double figures. So for some, a quiet start to Sunday morning, some sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern parts of England, but there will be showers, particularly around the coast and across the west. Some of these showers first thing will be heavy, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder, and those showers extend across many western parts through the morning. So sunny spells and showers even into Scotland, though lots of places will be dry to start the day, and temperatures around 12 to 14 Celsius, and quite blustery winds as well. Through the day, this area of low pressure just starts to slowly push in a little further, so areas of rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, particularly in the west and western parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, an afternoon of sunny spells and heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder possible as well. In the sunshine, not feeling too bad, but the blustery wind will make it feel cool as the showers pass through, temperatures reaching the high teens to low 20s, around about 23 Celsius. Across southeast England, and those showers continue into the evening time as low pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern. And it looks like there's very little change as we move through the week, generally staying unsettled, low pressure in charge, further showers, longer spells of rain and brisk winds, and temperatures near average.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dewbs and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 30th of August. That's the summer nearly gone, isn't it? This is the weekend on GB News. Your main stories this hour. A fresh wave of protests is expected this weekend after judges overturned the High Court's order to clear asylum seekers from Epping's Bell Hotel. We'll bring you the latest on this developing story.
Well, of course, after the Court of Appeal overturned that temporary injunction that Epping Forest District Council could suspend the hotel, the Bell Hotel, there housing asylum seekers, after that was overturned today, on Saturday, across the country, there are protests outside migrant hotels. We're here in Milton Keynes. You can see the union flags behind me. They're protesting against this hotel being used to house asylum seekers. We'll bring you more from the protest shortly.
And the Conservatives want to launch an investigation into Angela Rayner over claims she dodged £40,000 in stamp duty on a second home. Is Labour guilty of hypocrisy, though? And Women's Super League players are set to resume taking the knee. Is it still a powerful stand against racism, or has the gesture lost its impact? And we'll be debating the so-called princess treatment, where women expect gifts and dinners while men foot the bill. But in today's society, should men really still be doing that? And Oasis pack out Chicago Stadium for the first time, with 60,000 fans turning up in bucket hats and Union Jacks. After years of full starts, have the Gallagher brothers finally cracked America? I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is Weekend. So, thank you so much for your company this weekend. I really appreciate it. And lots of you have been getting in touch, by the way, certainly about Jack Carson's brilliant reporting from the Milton Keynes Hotel. We are going back there very soon, so you don't want to move a muscle on that one. He interviewed one of the anti-racism protesters there, a local lady, who was saying that she doesn't have a problem with the migrants being in that hotel. And lots of you are asking, why is this lady you interviewed, I think her name was Julie, not putting up any migrants? And someone, a Big C says, it must be a lovely world. Yeah, Louise, a lovely world that Louise lives in. Nobody is asking her to take 60 migrants into her house. Her and her mates could just take one each. It's a dangerous country. The illegal economic migrants have fled. It's because it's full of people like them, and they are coming from France. Lots of you are getting in touch with views like that, so please do keep them coming. We are going straight back to Jack immediately, and I will read as many out as I possibly can. Very easy to get involved, obviously. gbnews.com/yoursay, joining the conversation. But before we get to Jack and more of your messages, it's the news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom. A fresh wave of protests are taking place across the country against hotels housing asylum seekers. It's after the Court of Appeal overturned an injunction that would have prevented nearly 140 migrants remaining at the Bell Hotel in Epping. Following the verdict, several councils are considering legal action to try and stop the practice. Former Home Office Minister Tom Pursglove says the progress of the Conservative Party has been undone.
They've truly lost the public on this, and this is a terrible situation to be in, and I find this particularly frustrating because I was the minister, along with James Cleverly, that presided over closing the Bell Hotel in Epping, and what this government has done is squandered all the progress that we made. We'd managed to close 188 hotels, we'd pivoted towards larger sites, we'd got a deterrent in place that needed to happen, of course, we needed to get flights off the ground, but things were moving in the right direction, and they've really squandered all of that.
The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister's tax affairs. The Telegraph is reporting Angela Rayner avoided paying £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her flat in East Sussex by telling tax authorities it was her main home. But it's understood she also told Thameside Council her constituency house in Greater Manchester remains her primary residence for council tax purposes. Although the changes are legal, the Conservative Party chairman Kevin Hollinrake has written to the Independent Standards Advisor accusing her of inappropriate tax avoidance. A US Court of Appeal has ruled that most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal. It says the president was not legally allowed to declare national emergencies and impose taxes on almost every country. Trump rejected the ruling, saying all tariffs remain in place, and if they were removed, it would be a total disaster for the country. The Trump administration has until mid-October to appeal to the Supreme Court. At least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack. Russia launched more than 500 drones and dozens of missiles overnight that hit residential and retail areas in the Zaporizhzhia region. Volodymyr Zelensky says it's clear Russia is disregarding diplomacy and is calling on real action from the US and Europe to end the war. Gordon Ramsay has revealed he's undergone treatment to remove skin cancer from the side of his face. The TV chef was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, a non-melanoma form of skin cancer. In a post on Instagram, he thanked his medical team for their fast reactive work. Cancer Research UK replied to his post, urging people to cover up and apply sun cream regularly. And it's not all paradise for Coldplay fans expecting to see them perform at Wembley next weekend. The band have apologised to the 82,000 ticket holders as they've been forced to reschedule the final 2 dates of their 10-show run due to tube strikes. Members of the RMT union are walking out for a week from Friday, making it impossible for the gigs to go ahead on the 6th and 7th of September. Instead, they'll take place on the 6th and 12th. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now, a packed final hour for you, so don't want to move a muscle. If you are moving a muscle, though, we are on the radio, so no escape, really. But this is the most important story we're covering. The government has won its appeal to keep almost 140 migrants at the Bell Hotel in Epping. A win for the Home Office, but branded an injustice by local residents. Senior judges overturned the earlier order to move the men out by mid-September, saying the first ruling was seriously flawed. They were pretty damning on it. But the decision has reignited anger in Epping, and protests are also expected around the UK this weekend. Indeed, we are covering one that's happening live in Milton Keynes right now. So let's talk to GB News national reporter Jack Carlson, who is there for us. Jack, bring us up to date on what's happening.
Well, the counter-protesters has gone home for the day. Of course, we spoke not long ago to Louise in the last hour from that protest. We'll remind you of some of her comments shortly. But here at the Milton Keynes Hotel, there is still protesters happening, people protesting the use of this hotel to house asylum seekers. Councillor Ray Brady is here and joins us now. Why are you here protesting today?
Well, because we have a problem with illegal immigration and the fact that where they are, these undocumented young men, and we say young men because it is the majority of them are undocumented young men, and with issues. I know there was a couple of issues here with certain things happening because there's a school not far from here. We have this same problem with all these hotels in and around the whole of the UK. Epping really is the one that's been in the news a lot. I'm here because we have to. Segregation is the wrong type of word, but they need to be, interned is even the wrong word as well, but they need to be put somewhere where they're vetted, they're checked, and, you know, either deported, or if they're genuine asylum seekers, then have a proper application put through. But for the safety of our women, our kids, young girls, and we all know the other problems that are going around with the 89 counties that have been listed, you know, we have this problem. And what is happening here is you're seeing mothers, you're seeing men, you're seeing people of all race, creed and colour as British citizens coming here. And they're, you know, it's not safe anymore. It genuinely isn't safe for our kids. We all know with the grooming gang scandals and everything else. So something has got to be stopped. We're overcrowded. Social housing is non-existent, and I know that from a personal, you know. And now, after the ruling yesterday by these judges over Epping Council, it now looks that, you know, British citizens, all of us, regardless of race, creed, colour or religion, we're now third and fourth class citizens. And these illegal migrants, whether they're genuine or undocumented, they seem to have the, I'm trying to think of the word now, but they seem to have a priority over us as British citizens. That's you, that's me, that's all these people here, men, women, kids, and that's wrong.
Well, Dame Angela Eagle, the Home Office Minister, would say that they are trying to end the use of these hotels by the end of this Parliament, that in the next few years they're trying to do it in an orderly way. Is that not the right way to go about things?
Look, we've had things like, we've had stuff in place offshore. We've had the Bibby Stockholm army bases, that are, empty army bases that have been used. And these empty army bases, myself and my partner used to live on one in RAF Fakenham years ago. That's being used as a proper housing place, but there is so many empty there where these hotels, we have so many of our own homeless that we need to look after our own first. It's not racist, regardless, and people will look at me and say, oh yeah, they'll judge the book by the cover. But it's not racist when we have to, we've got a serious homeless problem. There's a homeless charity where, in and around where I live in West Northampton now, that has been, funding has stopped from. So where are these people going to go? I mean, as a councillor, I advocate for people all over the place. But you see all these issues, the homeless issues. Servicemen that have really given life, limb, mental health and everything else to this country, and they're sleeping on the streets and nothing is being done. But these undocumented young men are coming over and they're getting priority, and we have, you know, the list is endless. Pensioners, I'm dealing with 6 housing cases at the minute that I've got to put to the housing ombudsman because nothing is being done. It's something's got to give, and the problem is if these politicians, and remember, as an elected official, I work for you. Not the other way round. If these guys and girls can't seem to remember that we have stuck our cross in the box for them, they work for us. They're supposed to work for the British citizens of the UK, and they're not doing it. They just can't see whatever's happening is they can't see the bigger picture. And the problem is now, and they're all these registered parties that are in Westminster at the minute, they're all flipping and flopping. And I'm afraid there is, you know, you can't flip and flop. Stick to what you promised in your manifestos, and let's be honest, all manifestos that are written, they're not worth the paper they're printed on now.
Well, Councillor Ray Brady, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the views. Of course, thank you very much. Well, that's the view, of course, of Councillor Ray there, part of the protesters, here protesting outside the Migrant Hotel. As I was mentioning, the protesters that were here against these, counter-demonstrating, they've now gone home. But we did speak to Louise from that protest earlier. Take a listen to what she told us.
A really diverse, welcoming, tolerant, respectful community. We do loads of work locally, and we work with the refugees, with the asylum seekers, sorry. They're really integrated in our society, and it's really important for me and my friends and our locals to come along and show a different viewpoint, because these views that he's bringing into our society are not welcome here.
Now, when we spoke to him earlier, he said that there'd been concerns around the migrants staying at this hotel in a local primary school, that there'd been concern around the placement of the hotel. Yeah. Do you understand those concerns? Are those fair concerns from those people on that side?
So no, they're not valid concerns at all. There have been people that have stirred up I would say, can I say racist opinions about people that look different to them. But the police investigated those accusations. It was 100%, and the Northamptonshire police made a statement to say those accusations were completely unfounded. There was no evidence. So that's people that are trying to make up stories about people that aren't true. And they're not migrants, they're asylum seekers. And I would love people to really think about what that really means.
Well, there we go. That's what Louise said from the counter-demonstration here today. So you heard from Ray just then, you heard from Louise as well. If you think around the Epping decision and the decision from the Court of Appeal to overturn that temporary injunction, interesting that it's been reported today that 13 local authorities, despite the overturning of that temporary injunction, are still considering taking legal action in their own areas over the use of asylum hotels in their regions. And some of them are thought to be, if what is reported is true, to be Labour-run authorities as well. So clear, Dawn, that with the protest here where we are in Milton Keynes, the protests that are planned tomorrow again in Epping, that are going on across the country here today as well, that this is not an issue going away for the government.
Jack, obviously the case does go back to court in October. This is, I can't work out if it's the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning, to be honest with you. But I mean, I was just curious that the lady you were talking to earlier on, Louise, wasn't it, wearing the T-shirt, Refugees Welcome. I mean, she did say she didn't have the room to take 60 asylum seekers, her words, into her accommodation. But could she have accepted one, maybe? We do have a housing shortage in this country. Where are these people meant to go?
Well, I think that is a situation that both sides don't actually really know the answer to. I suppose they are not the ones here that are elected to come up with the decisions and elected to come up with the ways around this. Of course, Reform have been very clear in their plans announced in the last week about exactly what they would do. But as I put to Connor Sadler, one of the organisers here earlier on, if not in hotels or in these processing camps, would the people in the area where those processing camps are taking place, would they also then be against their areas being used to process these people? So this is a decision which it doesn't necessarily, the answer is not clear, and any politician, of course, has to try and make their case to the public to say that their idea is going to work, that their idea is going to solve the situation. But it's clear that the protests that we've been here today, Louise's side say that people in this hotel here have been trying to integrate into the community, but people here have had concerns around the placement of this hotel, the fact that it is close to nearby schools, and residents here are concerned around exactly what that might mean for them and the safety of their children, as you heard from Ray, and that's what he said a little bit to us earlier on. So nobody really has the answer from any of these protesters, but it's one clearly that is going to be a big issue, not just now, not just for the next few weeks or months, but for possibly the next few years as well.
And Jack, finally, while I've got you, because you're doing such a cracking job, I also heard Louise refer to racism. I haven't heard anything anyone said there about skin colour or anything that even sounded remotely racism. Is it just the flag she's referring to that is racist? I was a bit confused about where she was getting racism from.
I think from Louise's point, she would say that she views the anti-immigration sentiments, the anti-ness against the opposition to the migrant hotel being placed here. She would say that she views that and the views maybe that have been spoken by some people here at this protest, she would view that as racist. They would say, as you heard from Ray, that is not the case. They would say that it doesn't matter what colour of skin you are, and as you heard Ray say there as well, that if there are genuine asylum seekers being housed here, then they should be processed in the correct way. But there are concerns as to where exactly that is done and how that is done. But for Louise, it's clear that she's not happy about these protests being taken place here. She says that she has seen some members at this hotel be trying to integrate it into the community, and for her, it's against the Home Office for not processing their claims quick enough so that they cannot be integrated, in her eyes, quicker because of the Home Office. The Home Office will say that they are processing those applications, as fast as possible, as fast as they can. As just to remind you, as we heard from Dame Angela Eagle yesterday on appealing on what the reasons why they appealed that Home Office decision, they aim by the end of this Parliament to close all of the hotels.
OK. Jack, thank you very much. Sterling reporting there from Milton Keynes Migrant Hotel. That's GB News national reporter Jack Carson. Obviously, I'm really keen to hear what you all think on this. gbnews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. OK, now, a linked story. Portsmouth's Liberal Democrat-run council is facing a backlash after removing, yes, you know what's coming, don't you, St George's flags while allowing Pride-themed zebra crossings in 2020. Locals are accusing the council of double standards after England crosses were removed from roundabouts, literally with the justification of public safety. Pride flag painted on a roundabout, fine. Cross of St George, dangerous. OK, joining me now is Reform Councillor for Portsmouth City Council, George Madgwick. George, I'm very confused about this. The Pride flag painted on a zebra crossing and a roundabout was fine, but the Cross of St George, or a Union flag, and these are mainly Cross of St George's, I know, is dangerous. How does that work?
It is confusing, right? And you're not the only person that is confused by it. However, we have been informed that the council gave themselves their own permission to do the rainbow flag. So maybe that's what the difference is, right? Maybe the council can grant permission for safety on something that they wish to do. But they didn't do any public consultation to install the rainbow flag on the crossing. They didn't do any form of consultation at all. They just decided to give themselves permission and do it. Now, the St George's cross is now being removed. Now, I think we can all agree that vandalism is not good, and I'm sure most of us won't condone it. But at the end of the day, those things existed, they're there, and I would have personally not spent taxpayers' money on removing them. I don't think they're a safety concern, and I think that wind and weather and rain will take natural course over the next few months and get them off naturally. But I don't know why the council's Liberal administration has taken such a strong approach on this and saying that it is breaching highway regulations, it is a safety concern, it will deter traffic and cause issues. But yet, as you say very right, the rainbow flag is absolutely fine. It's very strange.
Because, obviously, as you say, they gave themselves permission to do that, but obviously there is still it's either dangerous to traffic and pedestrians or it's not. I mean, you know, it can't be different for different painting on the road. How has this gone down in Portsmouth? I mean, are people angry about this? Are they concerned in any way about this hypocrisy?
Well, poorly. I mean, of course it's gone down poorly. The residents in Portsmouth are a patriotic city. I mean, we're the home of the Royal Navy. I mean, we're an incredibly patriotic city with a lot of passionate people that absolutely just want to fly the flag and represent the flag because they're proud in the country that they live in. And I'm sure a lot of people across the nation feel that way. But the council have repeatedly done this multiple times over multiple years. And only a couple of days ago, we were contacted by a council contractor who were furious because their staff have been told they had to start taking the flags down off of the lamppost. Oh. Luckily, after a very short campaign on social media, and I'm talking short by an hour, the administration decided to put out a statement to say that they will not be taking down those flags. So that's good. But the fact that the intention was there in the first place is just so poor.
What reason did they give for taking the flags down or saying they were going to take the flags down?
Safety and not approval to be up there, you know, and it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And I think this is where the problem stems. It's not from a place of racism. It's not from a place of anti-migrant. It's none of that. It's because there is double standards. We live in a city where we literally have on our Guildhall steps the flags of Ukraine up, we've had flags of Pakistan up, we've had flags of India up, we've had flags of LGBTQ up, we've had all these different flags in the city, which is fine, whatever, if that's what they're into, whatever. But when they then start touching the St George's flag or the British flag, that's what really gets people's backs up. And of course it should, because councils or authorities across the country are happy to put up other nations' flags, but for some reason feel disappointed in putting up our own, and that's what people are angry about.
Indeed, understandably so. Thank you very much. That's George Madgwick, Reform Councillor for Portsmouth City Council. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
OK, a spokesperson for Portsmouth Council has said there are national traffic regulations which govern markings on a public highway. In the interest of public safety, the council has a legal duty to comply with these regulations. Make of that what you will, and let me know, gbnews.com/your say. It's time for our latest A Great British Giveaway, and it's a big one, this one. It is worth over £104,000. You could win a 4-berth motorhome worth over £74,000, plus a whopping 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details for you.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof light, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show, including, we are talking taking the knee again. Women's Super League players are set to resume that taking the knee. But is this really making the point against racism everyone thinks it is, or is it just a political gesture that's lost any impact whatsoever? All of that and much more to come. I'm GB News. I'm Dawn Neeson. I am GB News at the moment, but I am Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. It's been a long day. We'll see you soon. Don't go too far.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. So I'm making a valiant effort to remember my own name at the moment. I'm remembering your names, though. Lots of you are getting in touch, especially in reference to Jack Carson's report from the hotel in Milton Keynes, including the lady Louise, who was standing there on the other side, anti-racism side, her words, not mine, saying, refugees welcome. Kim says, Louise made reference to people not liking other people that look different as being racist. Colour is irrelevant. It's about putting British people first, not about colour. And maybe Louise can square this circle. I'm worried for my grandchildren. We're a very mixed, diverse family. And Paul makes a very good point. Paul says, Dawn, can GB News now make it mandatory for reporters' first question to the refugee welcome crowd? How many are you taking in your house and how many are you willing to take? Lots of you are asking that question, and it's a question I ask constantly myself. OK, let's move on. Let's talk about football, shall we? Women's Super League players are set to resume taking the knee after England's Lionesses abruptly stopped performing the symbolic gesture at last month's European Championship. So is taking the knee still a powerful stand, and it sounds a contradiction, taking the knee, a powerful stand, anyway, you know what I mean, against racism, or has it lost all its impact and become just way too political? Joining me now is a director of A Voice for Change England, Kunle Aludobi, MBE.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me. Now, the Lionesses stopped taking the knee during the recent championship because one of the players was getting racist abuse, so they stopped it. It was getting too divisive. Now they are saying they are taking the knee again. Do you think this is a good idea?
I think that the WSL themselves have recognised that the gesture has kind of emptied itself pretty much of all content. I mean, I think it's one thing for professional footballers to want to show solidarity when one of their own is actually getting pelters in social media. But it's another thing for the WSL and even the Premier League to be taking a top-down approach and insisting that this is the way to express, an anti-racist gesture. I think it's really interesting what you're saying, Dawn, about politics becoming more and more a feature of sport. I think that's absolutely right. It seems to be increasingly that people want to make gestures through sports and in particular football. I think, we need to really think carefully about this, where it's actually taking us. Certain social issues are important in terms of making these gestures than others. And I believe that the next England international is against China in November. Does that mean we're going to be seeing, protest activity to Chinese repression in civil society? I think not.
Indeed. We know the men are still taking the knee, have not stopped taking the knee. Do you think this has become more divisive for the average football fan? I mean, sort of like, people I go to football with, I've been going to football with for years, all colours, all religions. They found it quite challenging, more challenging than they have done for a long time, because it was suddenly emphasising your skin colour.
I think for a lot of people, it's just become part of the routine of football. In terms of impact, it doesn't really signify much. And I think the reintroduction of it, I think they're talking about introducing it at selected games during Black History Month in October. I'm not sure what that gesture means in terms of addressing things, people being abusive on social media. But we have to regulate that sort of thing, and come upon your views on how effective it is. I think it's something that should be left outside of the game. But the game is also about opinions. It's also about passion, and sometimes people stray over the line. Fan-driven social media now, in the last few years, has been one of the big phenomena of football, as I'm sure you're well aware. In terms of your interest in football, opinions sometimes lead to people saying things that perhaps they would do under normal circumstances, and they immediately regret. So we've got to be balanced about this. I don't want to see football as a passionless game. I want to hear and listen to people's opinions. But I also want players, if they feel that they've been maligned, to also be able to bring that to our attention.
Yeah. Kunle, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. That is a Director of Voice for Change England, Kunle Olode, MBE. Thank you very much. Let me know again what you think of that one. I mean, you know, have you heard Kunle say that we are in for more of it, more taking the knee, the men and the women this time around. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Loads more coming up on today's show. But first, yeah, it's time for the news headlines again. Here's Bethany.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. Further protests are taking place across the country after a court overturned an injunction that would have prevented asylum seekers remaining in the Bell Hotel in Epping. Conservatives are calling for an investigation into the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's tax affairs after she reportedly saved £40,000 in stamp duty when buying her second home. A US court has ruled most of Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal, but is allowing them to remain in place for now. At least one person has been killed and dozens injured, including children, in what Ukraine's president is describing as a massive attack by Russia. And the president of Palestine and 80 other officials have had their US visas revoked, meaning they can no longer attend the UN Assembly meeting in New York next month. Those are the headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/your say and join in our conversation. And there is lots more coming up on today's show. We'll be debating the so-called princess treatment, where women expect gifts and dinners and champagne, you know, ladies, how it goes, while men foot the bill. But in today's equal society, should men still be paying the price? All of that and much more to come. I am Dawn Neeson, this is GB News, and you are not going too far because I can see you very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather, and a bit of an unsettled weekend to come. We've got low pressure moving in from the Atlantic. We're going to see rain sweeping its way eastwards through the day today and turning windy. This is the area of low pressure which is starting to move in. It's associated weather fronts bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain this morning across western areas. So a wet start to the day here. But across eastern areas, sunshine holding on for longer, some glimmers of brightness as we move through into the afternoon, though clouding over. The rain continuing across western parts, the wind starting to pick up, gusts of 25, 30 miles an hour or so, perhaps locally 40 around the coast. So cool here, temperatures in the around 19 to 21 Celsius, but 22 to 24 perhaps in any sunshine holding on across the far east. This band of rain continues to slowly push eastwards as we go through this evening, holding on to some dry weather in the far northeast of Scotland, Orkney and Shetland there, not seeing rain till later, but a wet evening across Scotland, brighter for Northern Ireland with showers, much of England seeing the cloud and the rain push its way eastwards with some brighter skies following for Wales and the West Country with some heavy showers. The wind staying strong as we move through into the early hours as the rain slowly pushes away. Blustery showers moving in, gales developing around some Irish Sea coast as well. And so for everyone overnight, a bit of a blustery night, but it should hold temperatures up around 12 to 14 Celsius as a result. And it means an unsettled start to Sunday. Low pressure in charge, the centre of the low just sat to the northwest of the UK. Showers quite frequent across western areas, but plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern areas through the day, but the showers becoming more widespread into the afternoon. Some longer spells of rain possible for Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland too, and remaining quite cool and windy. Highs around 22 or 23 towards southeast England.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Princess Dawn Neeson. It's the new dating buzzword, princess treatment, evidently. Women expecting gifts, dinners, bottles of champagne, you know, the full works, while men pick up the bill. But is this chivalry and harmless fun, or should men no longer be footing the bill? We are strong, feminist women these days. Anyway, so joining me now is academic, anarchist and feminist, gosh, that's a title, Lisa Mackenzie, and etiquette expert Liz Brewer. Ladies, thank you for joining me so much. Appreciate it. It's going to get fiery, this one, isn't it? Let's come to you first, Lisa. The princess treatment, I mean, is this a thing? Should we be treated like princesses?
I don't know what princesses are treated like. I'll be honest. You know, I don't move in those circles. I'm a working class woman from a coal mining community, so you know I am a princess of the coal. I admit that.
Fair enough.
But being treated like a princess, I have been brought up all my life as a working class woman that you are as good as anybody else, but no better, and that means that you earn your wage, you pay your way, you have respect for yourself, and you keep your head up at all times. I was always taught there was no such thing as a free lunch. And you earn your way. And so for me, this princess behaviour, it doesn't sit comfortably for me. Perhaps this is another generation that thinks that they're entitled to this. My generation, Generation X, we've worked for what we've got. I'm proud of it.
If you were on a date with a hot man, you would be expecting to pay your way or possibly pay for the whole thing yourself.
I mean, I've done both. You know, I'm a single middle-aged woman. You know, and I've paid my way, and I've been out with men that are not working at that time, so paid for them, and you know, and I've been treated. So I think you know, sensible adults can have sensible conversations about money. And how we use our money. What I don't think is that anybody is entitled to have free stuff. Including our politicians.
OK, well, yeah, fair point there, actually well made. Liz, coming to you on this one, I mean, surely, OK, it's nice to be treated occasionally, but this is such an old-fashioned attitude, isn't it, that men should be, you know, the Prince Charming and treat you like a princess and pay for everything and turn up with flowers. Isn't it a little bit old-fashioned in 2025?
Absolutely not. Oh. Absolutely not. And princess of the minds, you know. Going back to my generation, and mine is before your generation, you know, I didn't have 6 ex-fiancés, a husband. In fact, there were more than 6. If I had not made an effort, or if the man in question hadn't wanted to treat me like a princess, it's to do with there is a difference between a date and hanging out. And a date is when the two people get together and they want to impress it. There's something there. They want to either find out if there's going to be a relationship, if it's going to go on to perhaps marriage or partnership. And therefore, if you don't make the best of yourself, if the man or whoever it is doesn't present you as a princess in his eyes, then it's wasting everybody's time. Look, thank goodness for Taylor Swift and Travis. What did he do? Not just get down on one knee. He made the most fantastic flower arbor. I mean, it was so romantic. And I'm hoping this will do wonders for this generation that is now getting married, hopefully, and actually understanding you have to put a value on a relationship. You have to put a value on not just swiping right and think, well, let's have another date, but actually presenting yourself with self-esteem so that you look at that person and think, that is somebody I respect. When it comes to paying, no, what you have to do as a young man and young people, it's not a question of getting your parents to pay. It's a question of actually presenting something which you can afford. It could be a picnic in the park. It could be in the back garden with flowers. It's a question of actually making an effort and showing that you put that person on a pedestal.
OK, Lisa?
But if we're doing that, what are we saying to girls and women, young girls and women today, that that somehow you're going to be paid for, that's the only way you can make an effort in a relationship is by being subservient and and waiting for a man to pay for this. No, I think that young women and girls today have a really difficult time. It must be very difficult. They don't go out, they're online. How do they find out, how the world works, how relationships work? And I think, we have enough problems of people watching the internet, watching TikTok and believing that's real, thinking that Instagram is real. Young women have got to go out. The truth is, young women have got to go out and work just like everyone else, and young women have got to pay their way like everyone else. Hopefully, get mortgages, stand on their own 2 feet, and have a choice, have a real choice in life. I see the man paying as taking away choice. That's how I see that. I see that as a generation before me when women weren't working and had no choice but to stay with rotten men.
Absolute rubbish. I've worked all my life. I can tell you, I didn't get to where I got today by inheriting wealth. I've worked hard, sometimes day and night, and I'm proud of that. And I've often gone out with young men or older men who couldn't afford to take me out. But if there was something there, if there was the magic there, it didn't matter. And when you actually formalize a relationship, you then decide, okay, we can afford this, we can afford that. You work as a team together to make the marriage work. It's nothing to do with young girls today making their own way, but young girls today are foremost in working, as are young men. In fact, a lot of the time we earn more. I don't care what anybody says.
So why should it be the man's responsibility?
No. It's a question of actually putting an effort into it, feeling and having self-esteem, and allowing a young man to feel that he's a young man.
OK.
And I could go on arguing forever.
You absolutely certainly could. A quick final word to you, Lisa.
Yeah, I'd just say that, I think young women today have got it hard enough. I think watching Instagram, having to be perfect in every way. I think, let's give young women the stability and the encouragement to stand on their own 2 feet.
Brilliant debate, you two. Thank you so much. That is academic, anarchist and feminist Lisa Mackenzie and the wonderful Liz Brewer, an etiquette expert. Thank you very much. Well, let me know what you think about that. gbnews.com/your say. And if you have a husband and you're watching Champagne and Flowers, at the minute I walk in the door. OK. Now, if you are in search of some holiday sun, I'm just joking, by the way, here is a forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Augustine is easing across northern parts of Europe, bringing mostly settled conditions, though we can't rule out some showers at times. For example, across northwest Portugal, northern parts of Spain and western parts of France, we just have some outbreaks of rain pushing through here. But otherwise, as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean, mostly high pressure dominating, so plenty of sunshine to go around. Though as we head into next week, there's a chance we could just start to see some thundery showers push into parts of Italy, but temperatures mostly remaining in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So this story has caught my eye in the Times today. Teenage pupils are being given lessons in how to make a phone call.
Oh, God.
You've heard that right. This is from UCAS. This is the University Admissions Service. And basically, if you miss your university grades, you have to get on the phone to clearing and try and negotiate yourself a place at university.
Yeah.
Teenage pupils these days do not know how to do that, to pick up the phone and negotiate. So schools are having to run workshops where people are being taught, and I quote, how to say hello and knowing that you will need your UCAS
lost
number.
These skills? When has all this happened, and why has all of this happened?
Because they don't make casual phone calls. You know how you just pick up the phone and be like, hi, how are you doing? How's your afternoon? They don't do that anymore. They just send texts or voice.
I disagree. This is a new thing.
Really?
I got my brother into university via clearing by phone because he was so broken about his grades.
Really?
That was in 1999. I rang them up and I got him into a better place than he was going to anyway, because there's so much rich pickings to be had in clearing, or there was in those days. Also got the son of the landlord of the pub I was working at. He flunked his grades as well, and I managed to get him in. So I don't think it's about confidence. It's just sometimes if you're going through clearing, it's usually because you haven't got the grades that you want, and you're probably a bit crestfallen.
No, I mean, generally, they don't. I mean, I talked to some of my colleagues yesterday who were very young, and their form of journalism is to text and email. It is what it is, and that's what the skills of people of a different generation have.
My sports editor, old sports editor years ago, didn't like people who didn't bash the phones, and he called them phone hoverers.
Yeah.
And that was the worst insult you could have in the office.
Well, I remember when I first started in journalism, if you weren't picking up the phone and bashing the phones, you wouldn't come back the next day.
No, exactly.
You had to have made a certain number of phone calls.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Now, lots of you getting in touch about that debate. It's only a sweet little fun debate we had at the end of the show about sort of like, treating a lady like a princess, should men pay for dates, etc., etc. Neil says, what about the bloke being treated as a prince? Absolutely agree with that. Neil, I can't read the rest of your comments out. It gets a little bit rude. But the sweetest one is from Ian Taylor. I'm going to use your full name. Ian says, it's our 40th anniversary tomorrow. It's not about either one of us being subservient in a relationship. It's about working together. It's a partnership of equals. And I had my wife's permission to say so. Ian and the lovely Mrs. Ian have a wonderful wedding anniversary, and congratulations on 40 years, even the great train robbers, etc., etc. Anyway, we're moving on. We're talking bucket hats. Adidas tracksuits, soccer jerseys have flooded the streets of downtown Chicago as Oasis played their first US show in 17 years. So have Oasis finally, done what the Beatles did and conquered America. Joining me now is Oasis superfan. I've spoken to Johnny before. Johnny Rooney. Johnny, good to see you. So Oasis have done it. They've really cracked America. They're selling out huge stadiums there, aren't they?
Well, do you know what? I knew that this was going to be the case.
because when the original tour, the ticket sales went on this weekend last year, I seen on the Oasis meeting boards how many Americans tried for tickets to get to Wembley, to get to all the arenas. Do you know what I mean? I was like, something's changed here. Do you know what I mean? Something's changed here. And then, obviously, they didn't get the tickets, those that were all so disappointed. And the amount of people that I seen actually online, please come to America, please come to America. And then the American tickets went on sale. And I actually got an invite code for them tickets to get in the queue. I was due to be going to New York with my missus, and unfortunately, due to health conditions, I can't go. I've been enough, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been enough. But I just knew, I thought it'll be mania. And then when I watched...
Johnny, just briefly, because we don't have that much time, what is it about Oasis now, in this reincarnation, that has made them so popular in America?
Well, do you know what? I think it's like many bands, you know, anyone who's disbanded, then, you know, little bits of there and that, they'll start hearing it, new generations will start liking the songs. It's a bit like with the Smiths, etc., like that. Like, generations just pick up. And I think with now, it's just...
Johnny, thank you. Johnny, my lovely, thank you very much. We've run out of time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Dawn Neeson, but don't go too far because Nana is up next and she's got a cracking show. She always does. Here she is.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Hello. I'm going to fly off the step at the end. But look, I've got a jam-packed show for you, a brilliant panel. You're going to love them. The fabulous Lizzie Cundy and also James Schneider. But listen, we're going to be talking about the Migrant hotel situation. Was that the right decision? And Angela Rayner, is she an absolute hypocrite? Stay tuned. That is in my niggle just after 4. But first, let's get an update with your latest weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Low pressure in charge as we head through the weekend, bringing some wet and windy weather across many areas, some showers following on behind the rain as well. This is the low pressure associated with the unsettled weather. Lots of isobars on the chart indicating some brisk winds, particularly in the west. So this afternoon into this evening, we've got a band of rain continuing to push its way eastward, some heavy rain associated with that, and then clearer skies following on behind, but blustery showers overnight. Showers most frequent in the west during the early hours, perhaps some longer spells of rain starting to move in to western parts of Northern Ireland, and remaining quite windy, gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour, particularly in the west, and that will keep temperatures up in double figures. So for some, a quiet start to Sunday morning, some sunny spells, particularly across central and eastern parts of England, but there will be showers, particularly around the coast and across the west. Some of these showers first thing will be heavy, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder, and those showers extend across many western parts through the morning. So sunny spells and showers even into Scotland, though lots of places will be dry to start the day, and temperatures around 12 to 14 Celsius, and quite blustery winds as well. Through the day, this area of low pressure just starts to slowly push in a little further, so areas of rain affecting parts of Northern Ireland, particularly in the west and western parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, an afternoon of sunny spells and heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder possible as well. In the sunshine, not feeling too bad, but the blustery wind will make it feel cool as the showers pass through, temperatures reaching the high teens to low 20s, around about 23 Celsius. Across southeast England, and those showers continue into the evening time as low pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern. And it looks like there's very little change as we move through the week, generally staying unsettled, low pressure in charge.